All right, here we go. I believe we are live. Welcome everybody to another LEVSTREAM. I am your host, Lev Polyak of LevPo on Twitter, as you can see, right over here. Be sure to subscribe right now when you are watching this. We are here with the great and powerful Nomad, aka James Ellis, talking about his new book, Exiting Modernity. So, James, thank you so much for being here. We, of course, have the great Porco Rosso flies again with us,
Hey,
and Gio.
what's
And
up?
Gio, you're doing
Yes.
something very special today, while I am
Yes.
still continuing on my NFT, as you can see over here. So, Gio, let us through what's going on.
Lev, you better hurry up before the NFT bubble bursts. But that's
Sorry.
that's just me. What I'm doing today is I am doing another block print, as I've often done on stream. But this is a special one because it speaks to our contemporary moment. It is of you can't tell right now, but I'm trying. Hopefully, when it prints, it'll be better. It's this picture that I found on the internet of this woman hugging her friends through like plastic sheet because of the his medicalized hysteria. And
What's up?
so I'm doing this on MDF board.
You can still do that.
Porco,
Porco,
Gio's talking
Yeah,
right
why
now.
not?
What is going
Oh,
on
Mute
here?
her,
This
mute
is
her.
I don't
chaos.
care.
This is
This is
chaos.
chaos. Anyways, um, so I'm doing this. I'm doing it at MDF, but I'm treating it kind of like a lino cut where there's a lot of like negative space because all of this white will basically around it will be like stark black ink. So I'm treating it like a Kathy Kollwitz print. But so it's like
All right, hold on. I'm muting
yeah,
her right now.
mute it,
Here,
yeah.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's what I'm doing. And plus, like MDF generally is like, it's good for beginners, but it's sort of like murderous on your tools. So I'm treating it like a lino cut more or less. But yeah, and it's just a pain just to figure out like to go between the reference photo and what I'm doing and everything. But what we're here to talk about today with Nomad is his new book that I've just ordered a copy of, but it'll take like maybe a week to get here. Um, Exiting Modernity.
Yeah,
My
man.
God. And it's going. I've thumbed through the essay titles, and they're quite exciting because there's like whole sections on. Is this a compilation of essays you've yet to release, or what?
No,
Go through
no.
the. Oh, it's
I'm
all of your.
I'm in pure grifting mode, man. Grinding
Oh,
back through the stuff. No, to be fair,
nice.
yes, it's all from the Meta Nomad blog. But to be honest, most people like I've made this explicitly clear as well, so I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea that they're buying loads of new stuff. But the reason I did this is the Meta Nomad era is like over. There's a weird
Oh
moment.
no.
There's a weird no. I'm not gonna off myself.
Oh,
Oh
okay.
God!
No, but there's
Don't
like
even
a
say that on the stream. Damn it, we had enough problems as it is.
no,
Wait.
okay, but there's like I think most writers will realize this. There's moments you suddenly something clicks. Like you read a certain book, you get into a certain author, and something clicks, and it like just ups your maturity level as a writer. So that era is like over because it's like okay, I need to do that. I've just got something different in mind now, which will probably be connected. So like other than the Nick Land book, and I'm sorry for anyone who's bought the book, but so I sort of consider it everything I've written up till now except the Nick Land book, Juvenalia, but not in a bad way. Like I'm not like anti-Juvenalia.
Hmm,
It's just like okay, that was you have to write for a long time, like a long time until you really write something good.
that's
But
true.
at the same time, I think a lot of people got the thing that I've had the most feedback on and the most emails about, like on a personal level, was the exiting modernity essays, like 10 parts. It's like 40 pages long. And that's the thing that so many people have emailed me about, being like, oh, thanks for writing this. Um, you know, it's helped me
We have
out.
a we have a comment from Pharaoh Phoenix who says it's still Jay White's era. So I'm curious what that means. And also, by the way, you can support this stream by going to streamlabs.com/LevPolyakov and donating me some scratch.
Yeah.
That's going to keep
Or
this thing going.
go to Hermetics/Patreon, like my Patreon,
yes.
and donate
not
me
or,
money.
Not or. No. There's no or. There's and.
It's and.
There's and.
Nah.
Everything is better when you're part of a team, right? Everything is better when you're part of a team.
As much as I want to promote that, I know I do want to promote, like, everyone make a podcast, just make the sphere bigger. But in general life experience, nothing has ever been better from being forced to be part of a team. It has to be free choice. It has to be free choice. I'm just thinking back to school. Like,
wait, what is the link again? What is the link again to Patreon? Because I go on your Twitter, I don't see the Patreon link right in front of me. So how do we?
Just
Patreon.com/MadeANomad.
Oh God, you should know this. No, it's not. It's not that.
I should know this. You should know this. You're the owner. It's
/Hermetics.
There we go. Hermetics. Perfect. Let me plug that one into.
There's a question in the chat. Where can I get this book? You can get it on basically. You can get it on Amazon, and you can get it on a. If you want to buy it with crypto, you can get it on a site called Canonic.
Ooh, nice.
I'll actually put those in the chat. So, like with Amazon, I'm not going to put it in the chat because you literally just search the name and my name.
I put it in the chat earlier, but I'm going to put it on again.
The canonic one's there because that's quite.
I'm going to put a lot of stuff in the chat. I'm going to put madeanomad.net. That is your website for your work. Mm-hmm. And as far as Hermetics goes,
it's just hermetics.net.
Here we go. Patreon.com/Hermetics. This is where you guys have to go right now and support James, and you will be very glad that you did. This is a very important time right now. We got to keep supporting each other. And what are some of the tiers here? Like, what do people get when they become a patron of yours?
Not a lot.
Undying gratitude.
To be honest, let me see. I haven't looked at them in ages.
Okay, $2.50 per month. You are making Hermetics possible.
Okay, let me go through them. Okay, so there's occasionally when I start blogging again, which most people wanted Substack, so I'm probably going to go for Substack. I'm probably going to do 50-50. If you're part of the Patreon or the Substack, which I guess will just be cheap, then you're $2.50 a month, whatever. You get access to the blog posts. Support if you actually don't get anything more. It's just if you want to pay more. 15, you get an ebook of methodology of possession. 30, you can choose an episode.
Oh, and by the way, which I have right here.
Cool, man. That's a good book, I hear. But I don't really offer too much as Patreon because I've just found from experience that majority of people, only 5% of people are going to bother with those things. Like most of the time, people give you money because they're just like, just keep doing what you're doing. So I'd rather.
They're going to give us money because of this, because of the definitely legit magnet.
I would run I guess for people listening who are like, oh, that seems like a weird way to do it, like not offer them anything. My point would be is that I've known a lot of people to offer a lot of stuff on those, and then they end up having to spend so much extra time doing and sorting all the Patreon stuff out, which they could just be putting into doing more of the actual work that people want.
No, my father.
That's my justification.
He enjoys making those magnets. Don't you think anything contrary? My father loves making those magnets. So keep the Patreon.
We have to show. That's the show.
Yeah, Patreon.com/break the rules. After you become a patron of Made a Nomad, become a patron of Break the Rules, and we will be very grateful for that because we all gotta keep growing and lifting each other up. So the reason why I'm saying that so slowly is because I'm searching for the link. Here is the link, patreon.com/breaktherules. Anyway, why do you want to exit modernity in the first place? When did this start, this interest in, or rather disinterest in modernity? Or you've never had any interest in modernity to begin with from the moment you were conceived?
Also, what is modernity? I mean, for people who are
that's
confused.
that's the big problem, right? That is actually the main problem. And I have like 3 essays on that. Because it's really easy to be like, yeah, man, modernity sucks. But then you go, what's modernity? And it's like, we all sort of know, but we don't really, none of us can really articulate it, which is what I think modernity really likes, is that you can't, if there's something that's clear, it's easy to push against it, but modernity doesn't like that. So Generally, that's just the word I use for sort of the increasing acceleration towards the sort of get in the pod, eat the bug world we live in. That's just turning into an absolute clinical, horrible nightmare where you basically feel all the time that you're absolutely disconnected from reality. You know that basically your life just consists of going to work 9 to 5, staring at a screen, and then in your breaks you look at the smaller screen on your phone. You come home and listen to the radio, and then you come home and you make dinner, and while you're doing that you look at a screen, and you watch a crappy film on your streaming service, and you eat some food, and then you sort of just go to bed. And for most people that's probably going to be their lives for basically
or even
50
worse,
years.
when you're in bed, you still look at the screen
Yeah.
before you go to sleep, which I bet a lot of people do. I've been guilty of doing that with Tim and Eric videos. I always like watching Tim and Eric videos right before I go to bed.
Yeah, there's that really good meme which is like, oh, can't wait to stop looking at bad screen so I can get home and look at good screen, right? And that's the reality for most people, right? They hate work because it's like they've got to do stuff on. I know this isn't all about screens, but I think that's a good reason. So why do I want to? Have I always wanted to exit modernity? I think I actually have, but I didn't have the faculties to realize that at the time, because that's one of the problems. Is, I mean, most of this comes down to the concepts of normalization and what normal is if there's like a presupposed idea of what normal life is, which is the modern world, then you're immediately in that from when you're young, from when you're born. So you don't really know you're in anything. So it's like the PK Philip K. Dick quote, and many other people have had this sort of quote. R.D. Lang goes on about it. It's like you can't even attempt to escape from a prison until you actually know you're in one. And most people don't know they're in one because it's like a self-justifying system. So it's like, modernity is good because modernity says it's good. Obviously, what we've got now is the best possible thing that could ever be, because there's history is apparently linear and progressive. So of course, if we are now and all the past has been, then of course what's now has to be the best thing, etc., etc. And there's tons of justifications for modernity, the way it justifies itself, and it's just very difficult to pin down, and that's what it likes. And really, this is what the book is about. I'm not doing the best job of selling it at the moment.
Yes, you are.
That's what the book is about. The book is about, I'm trying to think, if you basically feel completely disconnected from reality in the way, but at the same time,
this book is for you.
Yeah, but I know. Let me sort of finish up this bit with just articulating what's about. If you've acquired everything that the modern world promised you would make you happy and contentful and fulfilled, the latest iPhone, you can binge eat everything whenever you want. You've had the amazing education. You feel gratuitously overeducated. You've got the cushy 9-to-5 job. You've maybe even got a couple of cards on credit and maybe even got a house. You've got the girlfriend, or you've got Tinder, and you've got promiscuous sex as much as you want. You've got every single type of hedonistic activity at your fingertips, which has been which from the day you were born you've been told these are the things that make you happy. If you've had all that and you're still at your core, in your heart, feeling like, not thinking but feeling, I just do not feel connected to this reality in any substantial way, then this isn't a book which seeks to say like do this exact thing. It simply seeks to untangle some of the knots that have been tied in you internally to make you think certain ways. So it's not like, I'm not here to replace a system with another system. I'm just here to like sort of put you back down to a base level of questioning. So it's like, I'm not here to go like, you're all red, now you need to be blue. I can't be bothered with that. I'm here to be like, here's why the whole system of colors might be a complete construction, and here's why modernity is probably complete rubbish. And that is what the book's about.
Very interesting. I can imagine a baby you that came out of the womb, looked around at all the medical equipment, all that modern stuff, like all these weird alien-like doctors wearing their robes, and we're like, you know what? Let me back in. I'm just gonna.
No, that's such no. Sorry, I'm gonna counter you on that.
All right.
That's completely wrong. Because I don't see modernity as being synonymous with the latest technological innovation. This is, I think it might have been on here before when, it was with Alex Kashuta, where that for me is the same error as saying like when, you know, the silly argument against tradition, when people go, oh yeah, let's go back to the traditional days when everyone had typhoid and everyone was like, you know, there was no public health and they're getting ill. It's like, well, that's not a tradition. That wasn't anything to do with the tradition. So modernity is an internal, like the way you've been internally processed. And I don't, you know, that's such a cop out to go, oh, you hate the modern world. Well, you don't get to have anything in it. Well, no, that's rubbish. What I'm on about is more of a, I know this is the get out of jail free card for any theory, but an ontological or metaphysical level of how you understand the world. And I don't think that has to be connected with the technological innovations, right? You can have a traditional society, or you can even have like a feudal society with modern medicine, right? Just because they didn't have them at the time, that doesn't, you know, so yeah.
My comment was not as much about the technology, although that is a part of it, and I completely agree with you. People would bring that kind of stuff up, and I wouldn't say it would measure to snuff when it comes to the particular problems you have with the modern condition. It's more about the alienation of, let's say, and I don't really know what the solution here is, but it's the alienation of being born around this very sterile, alien environment, as opposed to something where, you know, there are societies where, for example, the parents with their newborns, they would just lie with each other for a very long amount of time, and there isn't as much separation, and that even goes on past childbirth.
Well,
there's just this, yeah.
I don't really mention any specific, like, I don't want to say, this isn't a political book, as far as I'm concerned. It's a book about sovereignty. I guess more of a conceptual sovereignty. So I'm not like saying, there's a few times I give specific examples, but I don't see them as political. So I'm not, there isn't a preferred political system at the end of this. This is all about the individual and the sovereign individual. So it's like,
but do you think the two align at a certain point? Because I probably think people are thinking politically when they start thinking about individual sovereignty, because they're thinking, okay, where do we go from here now?
Well, that's an internal thing. I think most political stuff is an external projection. This is all about internal freedom. So they might align maybe after you've processed something internally. But the way to say, oh, they align, we have to do this political thing, that seems like a justification to not work on yourself and not check how you're thinking.
I
so you're
agree.
Against,
yeah.
So you're against like any sort of political blackpilling, like in terms of well, first of all, I think that it's important to note your the way you're assessing like the difference between modernity itself and teke. Like you don't see them being equated with each other. I mean, there may be some correlations, but you're saying that technology itself and the teke, the sort of driving force behind it, it's sort of like an overselling of modernity itself to be like, well, you know, if we didn't have technology, then, or vice versa, if we didn't have modernity, then technological progress would sort of like become like null and void or something like that. You're saying that that's sort of like just a selling point for moderns themselves to like look at the situation, right?
I guess maybe to give an example is I'm saying that it's basically you have internal processes and you have external events, and there's only one of those things you can control. So in that sense, you know, you look at a screen or a phone, as to give the typical modern example. I think you can be a sovereign individual and have a phone. That, you know, that's ridiculous to say that you have to get rid of everything which is modern, because it's very difficult to define what that means. I mean, trains that went 30 miles an hour were modern at one point. You know, so, you know, do we consider all cars modern or just some? So you see what I mean? Like, so the point is it's your internal relationship, your mental relationship with the external world that is the thing that I'm on about. So it's like you can have a phone and you to a certain degree you could actually be on it a lot, but it's what are your compulsions for using certain things? Is it, you know, if you ask someone, if most people looked at their screen time for their phone, I imagine most people, at least in our sphere, and I can include myself in this, in most days, like I'm not, like I haven't fully exited it. It's a constant process, but you know, most days, some days it's like screen time of 6 to 8 hours, and you're like, you look at that and you think, well, where? You know what for if you worked on something for 8 hours, you'd have something, right? If you read for 8 hours, you'd finish a book, but there's nothing. I haven't got anything. So it's like
This is why I draw while I do the stream.
yeah, and it's like, so that's what I mean is you can still have fun, but it's removing that compulsion and having, I guess, a higher reason in terms of your sovereign self to do something. And I do want to just bring up I know it's you, Lev, who's like normally taking things from the chat, but there's a few things I want to like comment on because loads of people subsume me. I've like, someone said, does he break with land, as in the work of Nick Land, or is it more complicated than that? As far as I'm concerned, as far as I'm concerned, this isn't anything really to do with Nick Land, like at all. The accelerationist essays are in here because I was like, I might as well put everything in one book. Like, I'm not making hardly any money from this because I was like, I just want everything I've written in one nice place and you can all have it. So, you know, that's why it's a bit higher price, whatever, because I don't know, I'm not making much.
It's 500 pages, so that's another
almost 600. Yeah, but I'd rather just have it like that than like, you know, give you like grift and give you 3 books. But no, it's not really anything. The land thing is my interest in land is its own thing. Am I interested in exiting the modern world as its own thing? And I believe you can have multiple interests that aren't all. I mean, I think there is an overlap, definitely, but I don't. That's not explicit at all. Someone said he hasn't broken with land. Like, no, I'm still interested in land's philosophy, definitely. But the main thing is that someone's mentioned the anarch concept from Yeager, and like, I don't want to take credit for this apolitical sort of sovereign individual. This is something that, I mean, Yeager articulates it probably the best out of anyone, but it also comes up with William Rees-Mogg in his text, A Sovereign Individual. And, you know, there's always times that this sort of concept comes up. I mean, you could even take the book Walden by Thoreau is sort of that same concept.
I was going to mention if you were more in line with the, in this book, with the American transcendentalist tradition more than anything else, but you've answered my question. I am, and I actually can sort of use that as a good. So me and Matt Cahoon, I just did the podcast with the most recent Hermetics one. We had this brilliant conversation watching it once, and unfortunately now I get to like talk about it because it was unfortunate. It was just in a private seminar, and I was like, oh man, that was actually really good. We were talking about the difference between Ted Kaczynski and Thoreau, right? So they both sort of have done the same thing, but Thoreau actually got more stick in recent years because everyone so the initial thing about Thoreau and Walden, you know, he goes to and he didn't send letter bombs to people. That was enough.
He didn't have the means. No. So he goes to Walden Pond and he wants to get back to nature and he wants to have this like connection with the reality, and so he lives in his shed, a very like ascetic, simple life, right? Well, people sort of criticized him because years later we realized that he hadn't gone that far from town at all. It was like 2 miles, it maybe 5.
It was his friend's cabin or something.
His friend's cabin, and his mum would bring him dinners, and he'd go back into town fairly regularly, right? And this was the criticism. Whereas, so that's how he approached this like exit process, and he'd occasionally go back into town, right? But Ted Kaczynski, his process of exit was the lethal one, which is he just drew a line and went to the woods and was like, there isn't a town anymore. And if you read about Kaczynski, and I don't think, had these things not happened, I still think he would have done what he did, but he sort of begins to justify his murderous acts because he wanted to just get right back to nature, pure and prim, you know, nothing, right? And he did do that as much as possible, but he said that where he was, there was like a logging company 10 miles away that he could occasionally hear, planes were flying overhead, and there was like dirt bikes coming past, right? And these things slowly culminate. He's like, right, I've got to destroy this thing. And my point from that is that I'm more in line, obviously, with Thoreau. I'm not going to go do a 10K, but I'm more in line with Thoreau in the sense that you need to have that constant relationship with modernity. You can't just exit modernity and expect it to go away. You need to sort of keep an eye on it and see what's going on. And also, there's something healthy about exiting and coming back and saying to people like, yeah, by the way, you know, as just a crap example, this is what happened when I got rid of my phone for 6 months, or this is what happened when I've started turning my PC off for the weekend, or I don't look at a screen on Sundays, or something like that. And it's like, that's the relationship you need to have, not just one where you're like, right, cut all ties, that world doesn't exist anymore, because that's when you're just going to go mad, because you are denying. And that's the important point that is overlooked in even the Bible. You know, render unto God what is God's, but render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. And you can't just be like, right, I'm out of modernity. Like, that's not there anymore. That's the point of the anarch, is there's going to be a certain amount you have to submit, and it's very silly to expend your energy pushing against that. What you should do is use that energy to try and find a productive way to live the life you want within that, right?
Well,
Otherwise, you're just going to get bitten in the ass. But the modern world's not going to care that, you know, you're moaning about your 9 to 5. Why don't you just use that energy, realizing that you don't need everything that a 9 to 5 could give you?
Yeah, and I think the anarch is an idea of being in the world while somehow having a sort of inner detachment, or almost like, I guess Evola called it apolitia. But that's a really good way of reconciling the two, because I know recently, whether it's just memes or not, there's become a greater interest in things like archaeofuturism. I don't know what your thoughts are on Fea's book, because I feel that to actually deny the developments of modernity and the amount that modernity does play into not just like everyday life, but our very own consciousness itself, that's like it's very interesting how we're having to sort of find ways to not negate so much as to occlude a lot of the more harmful and spiritually damaging aspects of it.
Mm-hmm.
But have you done any research into archaeofuturism at all? Or
No.
It's a good book. I mean, I know that Fea, he has a bad rap for hanging out with certain identitarian movements, but I'm realizing that this wood block is actually more complicated than I fucking thought. But no, it's good. But the question of acceleration, I think, like, you're a man of eclectic interests, and it's very damn, there's so much design here. I can't believe this.
It looks really beautiful, by the way. I'm looking at what you're doing here, Gio, on the big screen. That is fantastic.
Yeah, it's very hard to capture actual, like, any sort of translucent material. Oh no, she's she's hugging. She's like the figure of death, but I'm gonna have to like.
Okay, it's not a penguin.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to like autistically her dress is like polka dots, so I'm gonna have to like autistically like carve in all of the dots.
See, this is why when I did my art degree, I went into anti-art, because then you don't have to do anything; you still get a good grade.
Oh, there you go. There was this one conceptual artist who said that you know, he was smashing a piano, and he said, "This is the harbinger of my oppression as an artist, because it's the keys itself degrade my being."
Yeah. In my final. I got a 2-1. My final degree show was a poster, which I'd printed loads of, ridiculing the degree show and the art university.
Amazing.
Put on just a stack of them on top of tons of cans of Spam. That was it. Got 2-1. That shows you what the education system's like these days, though, doesn't it? Really?
What does Spam taste like, by the way? Yeah. Does Spam taste good?
I ate one of the tins, and then I sold the rest to a fisherman, because it's actually really good fishing bait. It doesn't taste good. It's high in protein, though.
Now, when it comes to, I know you dabbled in magic, and you talking about being in the prison, escaping the prison. It reminded me a lot of G.I. Gurdjieff. So I'm curious if you've looked into his work. And,
you need to learn how to segue more. Like, that would have been smoother if you'd have just said, "Can we talk about Gurdjieff?" But
you did dabble in magic. You did dabble in magic.
Yeah. That's well.
Yeah,
man.
so that's why
Gurdjieff's not really magic though. I feel sorry for the sort of the Gurdjieff schools and the fourth way, because he gets tied in with it, and like it's really not. It's not what like Greer's on about. It's not guys in robes in the woods, and it's not sigils. It's not. It's more like I hate the word spiritual, because that's one thing modernity is just absolutely ruined. If someone said to me like, "Do you want to come to my spiritual group?" I'd probably be sick. But
wait, who ruined it? Who ruined spiritual?
Well, the new
in the modern world, like spiritual used to be like, I imagine, a fairly serious thing. And I think it would probably be just accepted that most people would have a spiritual thing. Whereas now, if someone says like, "Oh, I'm a spiritual person," you just think, "Oh God."
Yeah. It's TikTok witches that are fighting demons.
TikTok witches
now.
and
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
pop
but do you
stuff.
think that Gurdjieff had a positive or a negative effect on all of that?
On what?
On the on talking about spirituality, on the New Age movement, I guess you
Yeah,
could
yeah,
say.
yeah, yeah.
Like, did
The
he try to
reason,
push
well,
it? Yeah.
yeah, I think the reason people find Gurdjieff difficult is because one of the first things he says in most of all his writings is, "This isn't a spiritual system of belief. I'm not asking you to have faith. Test all these things." And that's not what most no other spiritual system I really come across had said. Like, just do the prayers, or it'll be there. It's like, no, you need to test these things, and I'm not telling you these things are the truth. That's up to you. So I think he has a good, he's had a good effect on it that way. But at the same time, I've never read about anyone alive who cared less about what people thought about him. He did,
Yeah, that's true.
So I
Well,
don't, the whole
yeah.
what effect did he have on culture? He wouldn't give a crap, because he didn't want. Well, he made it explicitly clear not everyone can. Knowledge is material, and not everyone can have the same amount of knowledge, right? If you have a pound of knowledge, let's say,
Yeah.
and you split it between 6 people, they all get a fairly good chunk. You start splitting it between millions, and no one knows what the hell they're on about, and that actually makes it worse because they probably just get it wrong. So that's why knowledge tends to just stay fairly within a fairly tight-knit group, because it's like having the difference between 1-on-1 tuition and 1-on-5 tuition, right?
Well, this is particularly why when it comes to the sigils and all of these rituals, I really don't know if people are getting as much out of them for the most part. To me, at least, I think it's less about whatever sigil or ritual you happen to do, and more about your actual, like, the power of your particular intention in wanting something, the power of your will. I don't know if
Yeah.
you'd agree.
Yeah, no, that basically is what the majority of magic is. But until you get to what they would call adept, which is when you can just do the thing very roughly, do the thing in your mind, which puts you in a certain state, which changes things. Let's just keep this loose. The way that you cast sigils is fairly it's like an anchor for you to make that realization. But I warn people against these things now. There's better ways to do things, healthier ways.
What? Why
Don't-
would you warn people against these things today?
If you ask the universe for something, you need to be prepared to
Mm-hmm.
have it take the same amount back.
What
Like,
do
you can't. Yeah, I don't want to
go
sound
ahead.
too pretentious. I just it's it's like a spirituality which is too good to be true, and it sort of is. It's a bit gimmicky and a bit tricky. It's sort of like, I don't know. It's sort of like a Band-Aid, that kind of stuff, or the witchy, sigilly stuff. It's like a Band-Aid for probably a bigger thing, right? It's like if you really want something and you cast these things or whatever, the real thing you should be doing is like assessing yourself to the extent of trying to understand why you want these things, etc. All right, and why is it you can't get them, and that's in the case if you just need to do stuff.
what do you say to
I
the
can see
Oh,
that.
Julianne Lev's muted you. Oh, there you go.
Wait. Yeah.
Why'd you mute me?
Because you were having a conversation with somebody
With
while
a
Gio
dog.
was talking.
I'm
That's
so
why I muted you.
sorry. I'm so
No
sorry.
problem. No problem.
Okay.
What's up,
Oh, God.
Alexandra? How are you doing? What are you up to?
She's been talking for the last hour.
No, I've been
Totally
drawing.
mod.
What are you drawing?
Hold on. I don't know if you can see it, but
Oh, nice.
Oh. Wait, hold on. Gio, don't compliment Alexandra when she shows you the drawing, because the camera switches to you. So, Alexandra, show the drawing one more time so
Okay.
that we get a better look at it.
all
And
right.
say something.
Okay, yeah. So this is just a warm up drawing, and I'm focusing on gradations in a portrait of a woman with colored hair, using colored pencils.
That is very beautiful.
And is she a
Thank you.
fae baby witch? TikTok baby witch?
No, it's a
Um,
model. It's a model, like a legitimate model.
I am. It is funny how metaphysics always sort of finds a way to become like more apparent in people's lives, like the TikTok witches, them talking about some demon going around America that they have to fight, sort of like The Craft, but like, you know, woke. But what would you?
Yeah.
But no, Meta, what would you say to sort of the assessment of Gurdjieff, like him falling in? I wanted to go back to modernity itself, but him falling into like the sort of the wave of like the mystic, the new ager, sort of like the Eastern prophet that came over, people that think he's like a charlatan or whatever, kind of like you know, Ryan Proch came from Japan and all these new agers got bombed with him, and it's it's sort of like people have that picture in their minds of any sort of explicit spiritual teaching.
There's tons of reasons Gurdjieff did this. I mean, so he's born in Kars in Armenia. We don't really know anything about that. He writes, the only sources we have on that early life are from the book he wrote called Meetings with Remarkable Men, which is clearly allegorical. And I think he's making the point that, well, at one point he says, you know, any focusing on one single section of someone's life, whether it be their childhood, their adolescence, their adulthood, is going to give you you know, the wrong picture of a not well-rounded picture of someone. As for him being drawn into like the New Age mysticism, I don't really see where he has, because his work's very difficult. You actually have to do stuff, and you can't just. It's constant hard work. And also, he said, I mean, just in relation to like these TikTok witches and stuff, the sort of the prerequisite for entry into a fourth way group, at least for Gurdjieff, I don't know how strict they'd be now, was, in Gurdjieff's words, you can't be a tramp or a lunatic. Now, I think he would consider most of these TikTok people lunatics, right? In the sense that, and there's actually anyone, that's what I'm saying. Anyone on TikTok is an absolute lunatic. He actually has definitions of this, which I think I agree with, right? So he says, oh yeah, before you can develop yourself, you need to have what's called a magnetic center. Sounds very, very wishy-washy, I know, but all a magnetic center is that part in you which realizes there's more to life and is drawn towards ancient texts, even the Bible, wisdom texts, things you know which are of a higher level, right? And you're drawn to these as a way to get out of the mechanical, autonomous world, right? If you have a magnetic center, you're drawn to these things, and you're competent, but you're still competent in life, like you have a job, and you can just go on normally, but at the same time you're interested in these things, good. You're well balanced. You can come in. TikTok witches, on the other hand, are lunatics because they have a magnetic center, but their lives are a complete mess, right? You can't do that, because otherwise, you know, he would say the opposite's better. Don't have that interest. Just have a competent life, because you're just going to go mad, because you can't even, you don't try the bigger stuff, like trying to develop yourself or trying to like evolve yourself or, you know, develop towards the divine or whatever, if you can't like fucking cook a basic meal or tidy your room.
Tidy
like
Jordan
room.
Peterson. Exactly. But there's also a third factor here, which I think is very
You're
important.
living in chaos.
Says Kermit the Frog. Something
Could
that
be.
I've noticed in general is that a lot of like the Burning Man communities, I mean, especially I think this was something that was talked about when we had the Daniel Pinchbeck Owen Cyclops episode, where I really think that a lot of people today, a lot of people today are on drugs, psychedelic drugs, different kinds of drugs, but especially like a lot of the psychedelic stuff. I think that a lot of these TikTok witches or modern shamans or whatever you want to call, you know, like the Burning Man people, that they rely on these things so much like a crutch that otherwise they're not really capable of doing something. And my whole thing here is, like, sure, you could say that the level of like creating sigils is something that, let's say, would be balanced out by other things happening to you if you get something for nothing, you know, or if you get something for just drawing like a pretty sigil. But the drugs, that's like a whole other level. That's like you're basically completely not in control. You have this other thing that's doing it for you. And I even felt that like when I used to do weed, I used to feel kind of like The Mask with Jim Carrey. You know, I used to feel like there was this other person who just like went into me and became me. But anyway, I'm curious. So what'd you think of the drug thing?
I don't hang around with druggies, that's for sure. Here's what I'd say about drugs, right? Any author who I've known who's writer, Hunter S. Thompson, maybe, I guess, William Burroughs, Land, and a ton of other writers, obviously, who've done drugs. I personally believe they were like 90% of the way there anyway. They were clever people, and the drugs, even like Philip K. Dick, I think, just something in his mind made him that way. The drugs probably just added a little extra. What I'd say is, and I don't even, maybe we could say there's very, very few people who've taken drugs in terms of that spiritual tradition. But at least in my personal life, I have never in my life met someone who has had these amazing trips, who's been able to tell me anything new about the world or reality. There's, it's not like they've come back and they've said something to me, and I've understood it. Like it's just bollocks. It's the equivalent of, that was very British for me. It's the equivalent of them just going and looking at, oh, I took some mushrooms and then, yeah, man, like God spoke to me. Okay, well, have you learned anything? And they still like basically the same person. And I feel like it, as you said, I mean, Gurdjieff basically does say this. He says, there's actually no problem with you taking drugs and altering your mind to get to these states. The problem is you have absolutely no means to understand it because you've never even thought about it. And it's like giving it's like giving dynamite to children. That's
what I said on stream. Actually, it's like giving.
And the people who are drawn to drugs are generally just complete fucking idiots anyway. I just don't like drug culture, and I especially don't like weed culture.
Weed culture, they seem to be the most like obnoxious in terms of like, this is going to change your perspective, this is going to cure you of cancer, and it's
I should say though that when it comes to weed culture, back when I was ingesting weed, when I was vaporizing weed, I loved working out. I loved going to the gym, pumping my muscles, and I did get in pretty good shape when I started doing it. But again, it was like a crutch where it felt like there was this other Lev that was doing a lot of this stuff, and the usual Lev was not really working himself out, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to these psychedelics especially, I really think it is kind of like kicking open the door that you're not ready to open if you can't open it normally. And when it comes to that, it's a question of willpower, where I agree with you that maybe with a lot of these sigils and things that people do for magic, even though, sure, it takes time to construct it, it takes time to put all the stuff together, here's the cup, here's the sword, or I don't know. The point is that, there's still some tidying up to be done there. But I really think that there is this evolution of consciousness that takes place where animals and, let's say, I wouldn't use the word lesser necessarily, but creatures that may not be as aware, like the fish in the school of fish, they feel like the fingers of a hand, if that makes sense. And I think Gurdjieff also alluded to a similar thing when it comes to herds of animals, and I think people as well, when they get into a certain herd mentality, as if there's this hand that's puppeting them, controlling them, and eventually, at least to me, it seems like the idea of living the life that we live is to eventually start going up. So you're in one cycle, and then you start going into another, and into another, and you become a lot more self-aware, and you become a lot more aware of kind of like how everything works on the outside of the particular Matryoshka doll you happen to be in right now. So this is kind of what I see happening right now. And for me personally, I wanted to quickly show you this. I know Gio is tired as hell of me talking about this particular thing. I don't know if you, James, are acquainted with this, but I want to do a drawing because this is something that happened to me actually not last night, but 2 nights ago. So I don't know if you know this particular thing, but I've been doing like the sober meditation and breathing techniques. As a result, I see, like the cross in the center. This is the very center of perspective. Like I've taken perspective classes, and this is the center point. This is out of which everything else comes from, right? So what I usually get when I do the meditation is I get the circles over here, just like spinning circles in the periphery. It just looks like spinning light. In the center, I would get a cross, I would get a star, I would get very rarely a 5-pointed star, which for certain Hindu sects is considered to be, like the opening of the third eye and all that. But another very interesting thing that I get is a DNA helix. So if you can imagine, what the DNA helix looks like, then around that, I would get a 3-dimensional tower, which would be, I know, probably, let's say one portion of it would be like this size, and then another portion of it would be like this size, and maybe like goes up like this. I'm doing a very poor version of it, but
So
basically
you've been having ocular migraines then.
Oh no, these are here's the thing. You can call them whatever you want, but here's the point.
What use is that information if you can't understand it?
I'll explain. Here's
That's the equivalent of me looking at squiggles in my eyes and like that's
I'm
bordering
getting
on paranoia.
I'm getting to the point. I'm getting to the point.
God.
So once the DNA helix is created and this three-dimensional shape starts forming around it, and it's made up of all these little blue and purple lights spinning around, I am able to not twist, but I'm able to turn it around. You gotta let me finish, you. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So are the orbs here in the room with us right now? Is it in the Zoom call?
Shut up.
So what I am getting to here is I am able to spin this thing around, turn it around in 3 dimensions, however I want to by thinking about it. So in terms of, is this an ocular migraine? Is this just like a bunch of splotches that I'm seeing randomly? Well, this is the kind of splotch that I can take, rotate, zoom in, zoom out, and this is all what I am seeing while this area over here right in the center starts gyrating like a little motor, like that, while I'm turning this thing around, zooming it in and out. So I don't know what it is other than to say that I think the third eye is creating certain things here that I can then manipulate.
You've answered your own question though. This is what Gurdjieff would say as well. You've answered your own question. I don't know what it is. Well, it's no use to you then.
First of all, I didn't say
you haven't got to a level of understanding.
No.
If there's any meaning in that, then you haven't got to the point where you can understand it.
I can't say that I don't know what it is fully.
What is it then?
What
What
I'm
does it
saying
mean?
here is I'll tell you what it means. So when you have I'm gonna explain. So why I said I don't know what it means is that I don't know what it means to the extent that I could outright say this is what it is 100%. What I'm leaning on it being, same thing with what I'm leaning other things coming from this third eye being, is that I am learning how to create aspects of reality. When it goes right down to it, a lot of the things that I see, all the things that I see within this realm, they are all made out of these little explosions. So you would have a certain area that explodes, and it has these other, these other segments around it, which also have little balls attached to them, and they're also spinning around. If I concentrate on another one, then all of a sudden this one explodes and creates another shape. And when I get 2 of these shapes coming together, kind of like so, then in the middle it creates this DNA helix. So right now I'm still limited in how I'm able to understand all this. I have to learn more mathematics and all the geometry and all that stuff. But what I'm getting to is that the way that I see it, from this central point that generates all these different shapes, I can start generating primitive forms of reality, primitive forms of sacred geometry.
What do you mean by primitive forms of reality?
I mean, combining triangles and various
I can do that on
together.
paper.
Good for you. You can do that on paper.
I'm not trying to be an arse, but I'm coming at it from the Gurdjieff position of
the
whole point of any of that any of this development is to. It's all great saying like I've met so many people who've I've had visions of blah blah blah. Okay, you're still sort of in the same position in real life. So to what degree? What I'm saying is that that's all very well and good, but what has it changed?
What it changed is that, first of all, when I have dreams, I have like much powerful versions of what I just showed you within those dreams, and it's fun. It's fun to explore. I draw this crazy psychedelic stuff. I like creating things. I like creating these images. So when I experience the third eye, I like creating various shapes of that nature. Yeah. So as far as why to do that, I'm not exactly sure yet, but we'll see.
But I don't think that's in the realms of spiritual development. And there's nothing wrong with
artistic development.
No,
artistic development. Yeah.
But what's the big difference between artistic and spiritual development? If you're able to develop a 3-dimensional structure like this and use your willpower to create, I see creativity as being a pretty spiritual act.
Oh, me too. I think when you're drawing and you're doing it very consciously, and maybe in sort of like a slight fugue state, you can sometimes. I feel like I've drawn things that have come true for me. I've drawn people that I've later met.
I'm spacing out right now.
Yeah, exactly. You tap into something that, is beyond your conscious awareness. And the more you draw and the more you do, I definitely think there are people who have reached certain heights of sort of a pinnacle maybe of spiritual awakening or understanding or plexus or whatever through their drawings. Like if you do that for hours and hours and hours, there's certain artists I feel like have definitely like broken through. And then if you meditate on those drawings, you too can kind of start to, you know, get your focus in a certain direction. I'm sorry, I don't really know a lot of the.
No, I agree with what you're saying, but
I get where James is coming from, though. Like in terms of like an actual, legitimate practice. I mean, a lot of the problem is like when you start to sort of graft meaning upon a lot of ideations of different things that you might not have a full grasp of, it becomes quite difficult because I notice like. This sort of goes back to just what happened to the New Age movement in general, in the sense of, you know, a lot of it became this like foil for like corporate America to come and teach people mindfulness, or for other like drug promises that never actually, like, you know, I mean, we had Daniel Pinchbeck on, and I don't know if you know a lot about Meta, but like he has this one clip where he's with his friend Russell Brand, and he was talking about how maybe we should just give like all world leaders LSD, and maybe they would like become, I don't know, they'll like rape the rainforest a lot less or something. I don't know. Like it's that sort of thinking I feel has corrupted a lot of the noble, the originary sort of noble mission of a lot of these practices, and it's sort of left a sour taste.
But it also goes into another. It also goes into another element, which is when it comes to these experiences, people expect you to already have the answers. Like, Lev, what does this mean? And if you don't know what this means, then yeah. My whole thing is this is a gradual teaching experience, just like the Kundalini in the back, just like whatever stuff is going on. I can't grasp it all at once, but it gives me certain hints as far as what is possible, even more so, and as far as, well, why continue to do that? Well, I'll see why. It's a learning process. It's something that I don't have to do a fancy ritual for. I don't have to put on a robe. I don't have to
but that's the point. Like, you don't have to do those things, but Gurdjieff is saying that this sort of, like, get into ecstasy free card that's the problem. I don't know. Well, Meta, you speak on this. This is your...
well, I think he would likely say that it's just going to confuse you more. You're getting thrown in at the end when you have no means to even understand what the end is. And I guess maybe with the slow and steady practice like Lev's doing, then yeah, maybe I'm not one to comment. I guess one thing I would say is that if LSD and all these drugs are so good, then why do the people who take them? That's all they ever wanted to speak about again. But nothing of substance.
So
nothing of substance. They're not like saying.
Strange thing.
They're not like saying, here's what the experience is. It's like. You'd be like, oh, do you want to go out and get some coffee? And it's like, yeah, man, I remember when I was on LSD and there was a coffee cup in that. So every single thing in their life, it's like, yeah, man, like, should we go to the cinema? Yeah, let me get baked first. Like, you can't deal. If these things don't help you deal, this is what I would say. In taking you away from reality, if these experiences don't allow you to attend to reality in a more productive fashion when you're back in reality and all they've made you want to do is escape over and over again, then that's so unbalanced and you're just living in a dream world, and you're not gonna be able to even deal with reality anymore, because all these people are thinking about is getting out of it. And that's literally the opposite of Gurdjieff. Gurdjieff's point is like, no, you need to be paying attention to, here's the resources you've got, and you don't even use them, right? That's his argument about free will. It's like, okay, if you've apparently got free will, which apparently everyone has, I guess an example right this moment would be pay attention to, strictly pay attention to this this interview. Just listen literally to this. It's the only thing you're allowed to let in to your mind and process. Well, and within 30 seconds, you'll be thinking about, I want to have a sandwich. I want to have a spliff. I want to, I can't wait to, lay down. Or oh my God, I got in that argument earlier. And then yet these people still say they have free will. That's bollocks.
But
so
James,
Gurdjieff's first thing is focus on that.
No, James, I agree. But what you pointed out right now is the exercise of free will upon reality, where the example you were bringing up right after I was talking about the things that I experience in a completely sober state, no drugs, then you were talking about these LSD people. Well, like I said in the beginning, that is definitely not the road that I ever want to go on, because it doesn't use your free will. all the visions that I've talked about here, they are a product of my own grind, or whatever you want to call it.
Your free
They're
will.
a product of me. Free will. They're a product of me taking the time to do
Okay.
these things without any ritual, without any kind of sigils, without anything like that. So basically, I'm able to do this stuff, and this is an exercise of creating something through willpower.
You made the choice to do those meditations of your own free will.
Of my own free, well, I
Okay.
didn't just make the choice to do them of my own free will.
But is it of your
the
own
end
free
product?
will?
Well,
That's
that's
the
a whole
real-
other thing. That's a whole other
Yeah.
thing.
That's the
But
point,
the end
though.
products that end up happening from that, I see it as being introduced to a kind of inner guru, if you will, where I see what the process is, and it's not a process that I would by any means, by the way, say is only limited to when I do these breathing techniques meditations. This is something that I think ever since I've started, I've been paying attention to what's happening in the here and now, and I've looked at the outside world, everything that I'm experiencing around me, as being my teacher just as much as whatever is happening inside. I see it as being an expression of the same thing. So in that way, I think utilizing one's free will to create pretty looking shapes that start emanating from your third eye, that's one part of it. But the other part of it is going back into this world and just appreciating it that much more and seeing it from another level.
Okay, I think maybe we should stop drawing in Gurdjieff, because like the one thing I would say is like Gio sort of made clear with him being subsumed into him, he has very, very specific meanings and systems for everything. So you can't be like, that's sort of what he means. Like he always means very specific things. So I don't know how helpful it is to sort of bring that in. But yeah.
No, sure,
But-
I agree. I mean,
But I'm
Gurdjieff
not
is,
like against
yeah.
your practices. They don't, do what you're gonna do.
No,
I-
it's good.
yeah, I
I think
understand.
to receive pushback in terms of what people think of as being the way or the thing that can deliver you. Because I noticed, like, when we had that psychedelic stream, and when Owen was just asking like very pointed questions, there comes a point where it's like, I don't want to hear this because I know people who have changed their lives because of these drugs, and here's the studies, by the way. And that's sort of like mindset of like, here's the studies. It's like this impersonal authority that I can appeal to. That is still, it's this weird sort of, I guess, what Ryan Proch called spiritual materialism, where I'm using like the tools of modern science to like basically validate my worldview of the psychedelic experience. And it's like, if you question it, then it's like, not only do you want to hurt people, but you're against science. It's like this really sort of weird flex that a lot of like the more, I would say, 2010s new age movement that came about from like people watching Terrence McKenna videos.
But then those same people who are probably spiritual materialists will probably use that exact same methodology to disprove monotheistic gods, right? Well, the science says otherwise, and then they just so that's why it's just useless, because it's like, okay, what argument do I want to prove today? Like, go online, go to some publication website, type in pro-vegan ones or type in anti-vegan ones. You'll find whatever you want. You do enough studies, it's easy. Like, science can basically just do what it wants.
There's that book, Bad Science by Ben Goldar, who talks about it. Yeah, exactly that. But when it comes to a lot of these various experiences of something supernatural, whatever, like, my interest upon seeing the way that this works in the mind's eye is seeing where exactly, let's say, the world of ideas stops and the world of tangible matter starts. This is also why I've gotten very interested in learning about molecular biology and learning about physics and learning about a lot of this stuff that I think is completely besides the the vantage
just
point
read
of a lot of
Gurdjieff.
spiritual
He's a
people.
combination of both.
I'll read Gurdjieff, but
Good.
also I like all these videos that I see on YouTube about about all this what happens to the electrons and the protons and the table of elements and all that. And I think the more
but Lev,
this
you
stuff,
know, I used to be very taken in by that. Quantum
By what?
mysticism.
By
well,
science?
the quantum mysticism thing. But yet the other day we have people saying that it could also, I don't know, like justify because you don't have like a self structurally, they'll have like this like really butchered like California Buddhist interpretation of, well, that obviously means that my, for example, trans experience, that's obviously valid because you don't have a self. And so I think like, again, this is the problem, is that people that do have a spiritual sense, they become sort of taken in by modernity itself, because the modern world is very good at like testing resistances to its own project. So it's like they'll take it and they'll talk about these other things that are quite, you know, in my opinion, spiritually alienating. And I don't know, like, does that come up in the book, like where you're talking about how this sort of the apparatuses of capture of modernity and how to avoid them? Like, do you have any sort of like Opsec strategies to like harden yourself to this, James? I don't know.
Yeah, I do. It's so obvious, though, that when I was going through the book and editing it, I was like, man, did I really write this? Like, this is... But I mean, the big one for me was like growing up, you know, I went to uni and I was like clubbing, I was drinking, I was smoking, I was hanging out, was socializing with people all the time. And it wasn't until after university that I started to do that again, after I'd sort of moved back home or whatever. And then suddenly one night I was out and I was like, I'm not enjoying this, right? And then sort of that sudden realization that everything that you apparently were desiring was really something that had just been artificially sort of placed in your mind as the idea of something that's fun and good. So that is my first, like, you know, my the Opsec of modernity is just a constant questioning of like, hang on, do I actually want to do this? Do I actually want this? You know, and you could start with small things, but eventually, you know, you realize the reasoning for doing the majority of stuff people do all their lives is for some material gain. And I'm all for property rights, but the whole idea of like, you know, the normal life of, yeah, right, we want a 3-bed with a garden and a nice area. And you know, if you want that, you want that. The point is, do you want that? Do you actually want that life? Have you sort of stepped back and gone, hang on, you know? And the problem is that idea of what's normal is so tiny. If you were to say to someone, well, actually, I don't really want that because I don't want that, and also I don't want to work all the time. I sort of want to walk. Let's say you just want to walk most of the day, and you basically literally want a cabin because you, in your mind, walking is the best thing in the world, right? You want to walk, you know, 16 hours a day. You get back to your cabin, you go to sleep, and then you work like 1 day a week. But that's just not an option, right? But that's not an option because you're slowly just dragged into this concept of what is normal. And so like then you realize that 3-bed house with the £300,000 mortgage, which actually ends up being like 550,000 because the interest rates are so shit. That is the reason you then work, doing something you don't enjoy. And no one ever stops to think, right? So you have an end goal, apparent end goal, and then you have to find the means to get there, right? All that happens normally is you have that end goal. People are struggling for the end goal. They don't ever think, maybe I should assess the end goal, like the reasons I'm doing this. They never do that. They just try and find a way to get to the end goal quicker, which usually means working more hours, trying to find a better paying job, blah, 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 blah. But it's like, why don't you just stop and say, you know, well, do I want that? And most people, I think, will find the answer is no.
Do you know about the theory of the mimesis? Like people want things, and people generally do things because they see other people wanting them and doing them. Mm-hmm. You know, we are influenced by our peers. We don't want to be left behind. We don't want to be left without. You know, we don't want to be judged for having less. So a huge impetus for accruing these material objects and getting a mortgage and having a house, it's just like because everybody else is doing it, mm-hmm. and it's what they want. You don't ask yourself what you want because what you want is what other people want. That's just part of your brain.
I know, yeah, I completely agree. And I think there's a horrible point where for a lot of people, they sort of probably realize it's not something that they want, but they sort of panic because they've never really thought about what it is they want.
Yeah.
You know,
you guys hear my
it's like if you realize, sorry.
Also, sometimes people, sometimes people don't want what's...
Can you hear my eggs cooking? No?
No, I don't hear
Beautiful,
the eggs cooking.
perfect.
Drink raw eggs, man. Raw eggs.
Perfect. I'm just making sure.
Slonking.
By the way,
Wait. James, are you into the slonking as well?
No, I'm not. I've poached.
oh, nice.
This British guy, I like that.
By the way, Riot Nationalist just came out with Men's World Volume 2. So
Yes,
go,
he did.
go to
With the
Egg
most
Gravy.
heterosexual cover of all time.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's where your mind went to, Lev. Remus, what were you going to say?
No, nothing in particular. It was sort of the idea that people do things because they see other people doing them, and I think that's much more of a factor than I think people give in. It's not.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
Most
it's
people don't
mostly
even.
unconscious.
Most people don't even know why they're doing what they're doing. They have no concept of. They think they do. If you ask them, they'll give you a reason. But that's not really.
That's like 90% of advertising. It's like, here's a hot person enjoying this thing.
Yeah, it's fun.
You want to also be
It's
a hot person?
Yeah,
Well,
what are you,
enjoy this
ugly?
thing.
Yeah, so what are you, ugly? You don't like fucking whatever stupid the product is, right? It's like, oh, only ugly people don't like the product, so you have to get the product, right? Yeah.
I mean,
By the way,
René Girard, who sort of popularized that theory, though, when you read his work on it, you realize he comes to a sticking point, because most philosophers come to a complex problem and they have to expand it out. And he sort of gets to this sticking point of like, well, I can't expand it out, because he's like, what's mimesis? You do other things because other people do them. Is there any more to it than that? No. Like, that's it.
Well, sometimes the
And
best
that's how
ideas are the
simple it
simplest
is.
ones.
Yeah, well, yeah.
That's what I
definitely.
believe. I think that's why it's such a compelling theory, is that it's really simple, and it applies very broadly to human behavior.
By the way, we have a great tweet from Definitely Legit. Is there a wiki where I can catch up on the TikTok witch lore? They seem to live in a very cool world where evil cults curse the moon, fairies invade Earth, and demon lords wage war across North America. I want in on that.
Or it
Yeah.
could just be the
the,
Xanax. Who knows?
Yeah.
The TikTok witches are currently saying that there is a demon named Ambrose that is wreaking havoc across North America and attacking them.
Hi guys.
Hi.
That was his,
That's Ambrose. That's Ambrose.
Yeah,
but that was his
that's
WWE
the
name.
sound.
His name is John Moxley. What are you
Yeah,
talking
it's
about?
Dean Ambrose.
Dean Ambrose.
It's Dean.
Imagine they all hear JR in their head.
And by the way, speaking of definitely legit, if you become a Break the Rules patron today, you are gonna get for $20 patronage this beautiful magnet of Definitely Legit. Here, let me.
That is a legit magnet.
Yeah, let me focus in on this.
Legitimate.
If you become a patron of Hermetics today, you're going to get nothing.
Offer
You'll
breath
get-
from your lungs.
You'll get James's undying loyalty, if that.
You get a link to my OnlyFans.
Oh.
You'll get another James Michael Greer interview, which I
Yeah.
Not Michael Greer.
I've already got one in the works, actually. He's basically on speed dial.
I gotta admit though, you have the way you bring out a lot of different like what he was talking about, the Coca-Cola example. That was like being a Coke addict for years, having in the last few years given that up. It is true. You're basically just drinking like brown sludge sugar water
Oh,
that
it's
has
the
no
best.
material.
I have
the
zero. I have
I love
zero
it.
calorie brown sludge.
And
I
the
got
best
Dr.
part is
Pepper
that
today.
it also mimics fucking like an industrial metal stripper. It just like
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
no
like
value.
asphaltum or something.
Well, there's
like
something
that.
The
that's-
stripper.
There's something quintessentially sort of beautiful about Coke Zero, that it's 1 calorie for a can. And I don't understand that. It's like a void. How can that even be? It's like a void of existence.
Yeah.
Well,
But
it's
so it's like this is
relative. It's
nothing.
That's why I
they
don't
they
trust
can't
it.
actually accurately like to that degree, like accurately count how many calories are in a can of Coke Zero. So they just say 1. So it's like between it's between 1 and like some other number. But
It seems to me that you'd
Yeah.
be better off just drinking a real Coke, like whatever chemicals are
or
inside
water,
Coke, or
and that
Yeah,
water
maybe
with a nice
water.
lemon
I
squeeze
drink
water.
seltzer water. I think it
If you
saved
drink,
my life.
if you drink just water for 3 months and then have a fizzy drink, it's like
Yeah, it's
just
quite
awful. It's
yeah.
syrup. You just taste syrup,
Dude,
which is why I
It
make
will
sure I
fuck you up.
constantly drink fizzy drinks.
Give me the fizz. I'll be fizz bastard from now on.
Fizz bastard.
By the way,
Yeah.
streamlabs.com/LeftPolyakov, send us donations. Need those donations along because I have a need for Sneed.
Oh God. But I think it is quite interesting how I notice like there's a difference, I feel, even like in online discourses around these issues, because even just like the willingness to critique certain things that weren't like readily apparent before, it seems like the old guard of like, here's like, well, I mean, you're in Britain, so I guess you would say like labor conservative, or like, the basic like left right thing. It's like it's become complicated now because when you actually diagnose a lot of the things that are incredibly alienating to people, from the left or the right, it seems like in one way there's almost like I don't want to black pill, but there's like a hopelessness to it. It's like, global capital is just going to steamroll us all and it's not going to matter in the end. But at the same time, I feel a lot of people are getting like a vibe that, the way things are going now, it like just by sheer inertia cannot last forever. So I don't know, like, I know like Jean-Michel Gurdjieff, he's got a particular vision for the future, but in your book, do you really like go into what your picture of these developments are going to be, or do you sort of like stray from that Landian, like the force from the future coming into the inside from the out, and it's that's sort of like.
Are you asking me what I think the future is going to be like?
I guess, yeah, for a really simple, such a theory cell explanation. But yeah, real simply, do you have like a picture in the book of like, what you think the future is going to manifest itself as?
What it comes through in the book, I think there'll be far less affection. Most people, it's fairly obvious now that most people are just going to be sat in single rooms
at this
alone
point,
most of the time.
affection can be like you can be sued. Like if you are affectionate in the wrong way to the wrong person at the wrong time, your fucking career is finished.
Yeah, just saying hello to somebody is sexual harassment now.
Yeah, no, and
like
also,
if you say hello wrong, what kind of crazy world are we in where you say hello to somebody and that's
funny?
upsetting?
I
You
want
have to make sure you have your trousers on. I think that's.
But listen, he just happened to have his penis out and a butcher knife in the other hand, and it was 3 a.m. in the morning, and he was following the girl. He was out collecting for the Red Cross.
World's gone mad.
It's God's plan.
What kind of world are we living in? You can't just 3 a.m. harass people.
Yeah. Oh, that's Dirty Harry.
Fucking Zoomers. I can't believe it. We can't do that.
They ruined everything for us. We can't even go out
Fucking
at 3 a.m.
snowflakes.
Yeah, that's the gag. That's a gag from the first Dirty Harry movie. They asked him why he shot a guy. He goes, he was out at 3 a.m. with a hard on in one hand and a butcher's knife in the other. He wasn't out collecting for the Red Cross. And that was in, 71, 72?
Yeah, something like that.
Things have been on a decline for a while, boys.
But what else were you going to say? Because I had a point about this, but what are your other sort of predictions?
The rural city split will be broken open. Most people moving into big cities, and then people who are rural just staying where they are. That will increase.
What about suburbs?
Yeah, there's been a lot of flight from the cities here in America. A lot of people are just like, you know what? I don't think we're going to hang with this.
See a lot of abandoned suburbs because basically people don't want to let go of their investments for a lower price. So like tons of abandoned houses and more people living like nomad lifestyles in vans and things like that.
I feel behind that.
Basically, more of the same, just increased atomization. Wherever you can atomize something, so that person is more spiritually, socially, and financially alone, that will be done. Right? And in those atomized things, there will be increased dependency on third-party institutions. Like
exactly.
So that's. You're on your own, and
everybody
you're
wants their daddy, whether it's daddy company, daddy government, or just living off a daddy period, just their actual parents. There's a lot of that going on.
Yeah, or a sugar daddy.
They're or a sugar daddy. You live long enough to be a hero or die a villain.
But no, it's funny because I don't know if you guys saw this tweet I had the other day. I deleted them because I'm going to write a Substack on it. Finally, I'm going to start using Substack. It was about how, I know the framing of it kind of came off that way, but I didn't intend it for it to be. But it was about how, a lot of like attractive women have a particular power over lonely men, because when you have this sort of paralyzing, and which is an old idea. I mean, this was the Eliot poem Proof Rock, right? Where you sort of have this romantic fantasy that for whatever reason you don't feel the compulsion to actualize on, because you, well, first of all, I mean, just it's like what my good friend default friend said. She's like, nowadays it's almost seen as like creepy and uncouth to actually like go up and talk to her, bro. And I got replies from like people with like literal hammer and sickles in the bio and shit, where they were like, this is just an incel projecting like their inability to talk to women. And even though, you know, if you really know me, I mean, that's not the case. Not that I mean, I feel like I have a good time of it. Like I've never, you know, anyway, say no more.
No, Gio, you are a charmer.
He's a ladies'
No,
man.
no,
He's
but I
Gio is very funny
confirmed
and
bachelor.
No, but
I
I feel
actually
it's
agree.
funny how like that discourse around it, like that's, you know.
Well, you were also saying later that, or somebody was saying that you tapped into their market when you were saying that, like you were not allowed to, express emotions the same way.
And that's the thing. This language of empathy, in a lot of ways, is also being politically weaponized and instrumentalized against certain classes of people. And that's like another aspect of the current epoch we're living in. How you like literally.
She is one of the worst buzzwords of the current world.
Epoch?
It's they don't actually. They don't actually.
How about an
They don't
Eon?
actually. They don't actually believe in empathy. They're not actually empathetic.
Oh, empathy.
what they're
Yeah,
doing.
exactly.
Yeah, it's not empathy. It's that's a lie. It's not real empathy. It's empathy
Yeah,
for
it's
their
like
for in-group.
a coerced
Yeah,
empathy.
Well, I do have a bit of a white pill for you guys to chew on if you're interested. So, despite all this doom and gloom in the air, if we have decentralized schooling, if we have schools that, let's say, we wouldn't have to have these stupid teachers' unions in these public schools, that
So
there
like
would be other
magnet
ways for...
schools and private schools, that sort of thing.
But a lot of them, let's say, half through the internet, but also the half that's worth it to spend outside will be outside. So basically, instead of sitting everybody in the classroom, let's spend more time outside, doing outside activities, and then the rest of the learning time, it could be done without these underqualified, stupid teachers, but there could actually be a much more decentralized model of people with actual competency that don't have to structure the education of the kid in such a way that like they don't get enough sleep, and so like they kind of could like choose a more optimal way of doing this where less time spent actually learning, but that time spent learning is actually time spent learning. And you know what I mean? Instead of just bullshitting like
Well,
it's done in a lot of schools.
Assumption. School does this thing where the assumption is that you're only learning when you're sitting in a chair at a desk in a class.
Yeah.
Even though that's not at all true and not how life works in any way, shape, or
Prussian
form.
school
Like
system. Yeah.
everybody understands this. If you say it to them in different terms, if you say like, don't you learn from experience? They'll go, yeah. And it's like, okay, then why are children sitting in a class for 9, you know what I mean? Like, and they can't make the jump. But I did want to say,
school's just a place to condition people.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're not teaching the lessons that they're teaching. It's like wrestling. The wrestling is always about the next event.
Well,
So teaching is about teaching you is about teaching the idea of
no one in their right mind would want to sit for 8 hours and stare at a wall.
Yeah,
But you're taught to be able to do that from a young age.
be Mr. Lockstep, be part of the pack.
Under
Don't
vague
be-
lights, taking very short breaks when you're told you're allowed to, in a uniform, and it's like the frog in boiling water. And most people don't realize they're in the boiling water.
Yep.
And the worst aspect is that they tell you that if you aren't, like the worst part is that if you can't sit there for 9 hours and do nothing, there's something wrong with you. That is the worst aspect.
Yeah.
Of it.
They want
they're
to
gonna
do that
medicate
stuff.
you.
They call you a
They're gonna
troublemaker. They call you a bastard.
We're gonna put you in
That's how it
yeah,
started. That's the origin story of Mass
Yeah.
Bastard.
he had to wear the mask.
They have to put a
Nobody
mask
cared
on
who he
you.
was until he pulled them for them.
Yeah.
A muzzle, a Ninja Turtle style muzzle. That's what I imagine
Oh,
they put
yeah.
on you. Yeah,
But I did want
yeah.
to make a point on the sort of the all of this stuff is a white pill if you have the right perspective. Like it's not bad that these things are happening. It's opportunities for people to make the changes that they think are important in their lives and potentially in the lives of the people around them, right? But I did want to get to the point of Gio talking about the whole the thread that he was discussing and that he wrote, right? I think there's a layer of it that is, it's twofold, right? You're completely correct on sort of that power and the how it makes you feel. I know exactly how that felt. I'm sorry, any teenager knows how this feels. It doesn't matter whether you're a boy or a girl. You all do this. All teenage people do this. They do this stupid, like, they like write a scenario in their mind of a person that they're looking at, and then they get upset that it's not happening. Yeah, and then they get upset that it's not happening, that it's not real. Like they hurt themselves in a way. They construct this beautiful world that isn't true for themselves to like revel in for a little bit, and then when it doesn't come true because they didn't do anything to make it happen, it hurts them, right? And I think there's a responsibility also on the person doing the fantasizing, that they have to remember that they're hurting themselves to do that, right?
Yeah.
You're ripping your heart open for somebody who literally doesn't even like notice you potentially, right?
But there's a lot of people not living in reality lately. Like,
oh yeah, that's the case.
They have tried to shift the definition of what's real and what's truth. Like being a truth became a truther. You were a bad person if you were seeking out the truth. Don't look into news stories and find your own sources. Follow what we tell you to follow.
Nothing tells you more of the corruption of modern life than the idea that truther is an insult. Like, that is insane.
Yeah.
But has there been a time? But has there been any golden time when we could say, well, not fully, but at least it wasn't as bad as now? Because there was like the yellow journalism, at the turn of the 20th century. And all that,
it's always been bad, Lev.
Everything,
but it's never been this critical.
Everything's
never been this critical. It's too much.
Everything's cyclical.
But at least now there are, let's say, alternative platforms that people can get their news from, as opposed to before, before the internet, where, although I guess you could say, well, now it's like,
there's always been alternative platforms.
Yeah, there's always a counterculture. That's how it works.
It used to be the crazy lady on the corner, like, or the crazy lady at the
it used to be local access.
that was the Alex Jones back in the day, just like some grandma.
I mean, Alex Jones started as a public access guy.
Or did he?
Yes.
By the forest.
That makes sense.
Oh, I love this comment, by the way, from Pharaoh Phoenix. Shout out to Pharaoh Phoenix. School, office, mainstream media is all built to literally waste your time. I started skipping school to study alone, and my grades were literally the highest in the entire school. Great point, Pharaoh Phoenix. And when I was in college, by the way, when I went into SVA, there was this ancient civilizations class that we took, which sucked donkey balls. So I ended up not learning.
That was a class.
Ancient...
That's what you did in class. They had a whole class doing that.
Yes, well, this was
ridiculous school.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? It's America,
He meant sucking donkey.
Did they change the donkey every year, or?
No, I think they upgraded it to a bull. A bull's balls, that's supposed to be better.
That's expensive. That's like $30,000 a shot.
Well, where do you think all that money goes to?
That's what the Rock's doing.
Yeah.
He needs the loan. Tiger balls and bull's balls.
Oh, God. But
how do you think Red Bull extracted the taurine?
The taurine and all the energy drinks.
Yeah, that's how they made Red Bull. I
I
was going to bring in something that, the idea of like nothing new under the sun, everything's cyclic. It's sort of an easy out. Like, I completely agree with it, saying there's always been another counterculture. One thing I'd say that's different now, though, is like I have an essay in Existing Modernity, which is probably the one which, if people read the book, which they probably won't, which I don't really care about.
Read the book, damn it, read the book.
It's called It's Okay to Not Care About Politics. And like, if you read any history book sort of written by someone who's relatively unbiased towards current trends, like I'm thinking specifically of a biography of Machiavelli that I read, but there's many other books. You realize that the majority of people weren't political. They weren't political beings. That's a new thing. Same with like being caught up, right? In like needing to know the news. They weren't media beings either. This is an industrial revolution thing. Before that, it's like people weren't going around going, even thinking or in themselves being a Democrat or Republican, wasn't it?
Yeah, they had real shit going on. They had to work.
Even if they didn't, even if they were like, yeah, my farm's fine, and they
just don't care.
But then not caring is another form of caring, because you're like, I don't care. You obviously do, because you're actively not caring. It wasn't even a thing. It doesn't even come into their mind. And like the difference between someone who is just not even in the same sphere as politics, your mind must be just so much more content and peaceful when you haven't got every single one of your actions potentially being politicized, right?
Who's
literally
the,
down to like eating and
Well,
drinking
I mean,
water.
I think that's why a lot of people who are very politically aware and also like, especially sort of more liberal, like just kind of the people who are very like rigid in their ideology and like they're constantly assessing like, is this the politically correct thing to do or not, like tend to be very just stressed out and unhappy. Like,
Yeah, I'm
it's
always
just,
worried about upsetting people. You know, I don't want to make any jokes that are too funny.
yeah.
This
Really
guy.
upset somebody.
Because my patrons at Chapo Chap House are going to persecute me.
Oh yeah,
So-
yeah. I would hate to be canceled by animation Twitter and have them calling me all sorts of names. Like that would really upset me. I wouldn't laugh about it and brag about it on a podcast.
When the Jannies attack you.
But it is
Yeah.
funny now. Yeah, the Jannies are gonna come out.
When they come back.
Yeah.
But it is funny what James is saying because I live in a country where, like I had a tweet about it. Like the act of saying I don't care is in itself like a subversive sort of statement that is equated with like the extreme far right to like not be caring about our current situation, which I find like hilarious for more ways than one. But it seems that to most people to say I don't care, that in itself is like this admission of a grand
There is
There's
no nation on this planet that is more that weaponizes empathy more effectively, in my opinion, than Canada. Maybe Australia. I
maybe
never lived
Britain,
there.
maybe I don't know.
Yeah, maybe the UK, but I feel like Canada was like
Testing
the
ground.
yeah, it was a proving ground for these ideas, right? Yeah, very strange, very strange. It's weird the way that like you're considered a fucking psychopath for not caring about like the most stupid shit that doesn't matter at all. So you're like,
You don't want-
there was a great episode of a cartoon here in America called Mission Hill. Like Mission Hill didn't last very long.
I remember
But,
Mission Hill. We got that
yeah.
on Teletoon.
So Mission Hill, it aired that one season. They
I
had
missed that
one
show, actually. It
episode
was really
where
good.
the guy had to go somewhere, and everywhere he went, people were obsessed about this news story. Everybody was glued to the TV, and like whatever MacGuffin it was supposed to be, like 9/11 or whatever. Everybody just kept asking him everywhere he went, "Hey, have you heard about this thing? Like, what you got to talk about this?" And he's like, "What thing? I don't know. Like, I got somewhere to go. Like, I got other stuff going on." There was some kind of Oscar party or something he was trying to get to meet a girl, and he did not care at all about any of the horrible things that were happening. Like, it just didn't matter at all to him because he was concerned with something else. He had real stuff to worry about, trying to meet that girl. Who was the philosopher that lived in the barrel and ate onions?
Diogenes.
Diogenes, yeah. That guy, that's the guy to be like, because who cares?
He understood, man. He got it.
Yeah, he was living he would live
he was-
society at a higher tier. You want to talk
These
about
days,
4D
though,
chess?
These days, though, they wouldn't let you park your big wine barrel up.
Well,
You'd need a
I
permit
beg
for a
to differ.
wine barrel
I don't
these
know, I
days.
don't know, man. It depends.
No,
if you
it's
live in
true,
America, there's
even-
plenty of Diogenes on the streets. Holy shit.
What is the term for it for people that live in their cars or
Well,
that
Nomad.
guy? He's actually
They're
Canadian.
called homeless.
What's his name?
Transient? Is that what
Steve
it
Willis?
is? The word?
Well, I think that
Vagrant.
The housing disabled.
No, it's like where they park in secret. Not
Nomad,
boondocking.
a van dweller.
There's a lot of guys on
Traveler.
YouTube.
No, but-
Their whole channel is that.
Gypsy.
I sort of want to say something about that though, because that is buying into the whole modernity shtick. Then when you have that, like, oh man, this guy, like, you're such a loser because you live in a van. But if that person's happy and they could live off like what £200 a month, and
Yeah.
and they're not getting in anyone's way, they might be up at some campsites or
Who's the
something.
real idiot, right? Who's the real
Well, yeah,
idiot?
but what I'm saying is like the reason that doesn't seem normal to you is just because you've completely bought into the other idea of normal.
Because you've been told that you're supposed to have a house and you're not
Yeah.
supposed to live in a
They
fucking
call it
van.
I think they call it boondocking, where they work in secret, like they disguise the vans to not be like as obvious. And it's funny because how with like rare exceptions, even like the act of just trying to like minimize yourself in terms of your economic output, or in terms of your, I don't know, greenhouse carbon footprint, even that act in itself becomes problematic and has to be, you know, met with bylaws. And I get, like, because of criminality and all of that stuff, but even still, it's really weird to me how there's a lot of sort of, like, for example, there's bylaws against gardening and things of that nature. Like, to
In
me,
Canada?
that's inhuman. Oh, in a lot of places in Canada. I'm fortunate that.
Oh, for sure.
Well, there's
In
even
the US too.
copyrights on certain seeds. You can't plant those
Yeah.
seeds.
Yeah.
The
Like, how
Monsanto.
screwy is that, man?
That's
Like, I'm
demonic.
blessed to be
That's
part of the
fucking
fruit
demonic.
belt, where it's like not as prohibitive, but still, it's like I mean, you know, James, you
You
live
know
in
what,
England, and it's madness, apparently, from what
Well,
I
Gio,
hear.
you're in the fruit belt, and the ones who enact those laws, they're in the nut belt.
Hey!
Nice.
Nice.
Everybody, streamlabs.com/leftpolyakov. Let's keep this thing going. Donate some
You're
money.
gonna not pay him for those fucking jokes? You pieces of shit.
I realize I'm gonna have to do like a million little dots now. I'm really pissed about that. But go ahead, guys. I mean, it's
Well, it's like here. It's like in the U.S. You can't. It's like against federal law to fucking collect rainwater. Why?
why
Yeah, most
though?
places here we're not
No
allowed.
good.
You're not. Most places in the UK you're not allowed to grow veg on your front lawns.
Oh
Well,
my
how dare
God.
you? What is that? A fucking tomato?
You got a
What are
license for them tomatoes, eh?
Not
What's
too
all
bad.
this here?
Oh, mate.
There
Wait, are
isn't
they-
even a license. You're not allowed.
Are they
There's
really?
no license that you can get.
Are they really taking butter knives, or is that a meme?
Absolutely,
No,
they
mate.
are.
A
That's a
dangerous
real
weapon,
thing.
governor.
Yeah. I wonder about croquet mallets. Could a guy have a croquet mallet?
No, that's a weapon.
I wonder if clubs are allowed.
No, that's a weapon. I've seen
Wait, what
I've seen
about
bike
for?
wheels. I've seen
What
cricket
about a
bats.
car?
I've seen
Yeah.
that's,
You wouldn't
a fucking
use a
real
car.
weapon, son. A truck.
What about some diesel and fertilizer? Never mind.
What
Yeah.
about, what if we just
Uh-oh,
had a
treading
guy who was
dangerous
a
ground.
They're
welder?
gardening tools, isn't it?
What if a welder took a bulldozer and really well motivated?
That guy was a fucking hero. Like, that's
Absolutely.
like Scott Niedermeyer. He was. Was his name Niemeyer?
Wait, what is this?
Niedermeyer?
That's
I don't know
Killdozer.
what you're talking
Oh,
about.
you don't know
You
about
don't know
the
about
Killdozer
Killdozer?
lad?
You don't know about
Oh
Killdozer?
my god!
He was
What
a
is
hero.
this?
He's
Yeah.
an American
All
hero.
right, yeah, he's a American folk hero. He was a dude who he run a muffler shop. Wasn't that his thing?
He ran a metal workshop.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
was a
that
metal
was
workshop guy.
automotive.
And there was some sort of a business that moved in near him, some sort of warehouse
A
or
quarry.
I
factory.
think it was next door.
Yeah, and they had rerouted his water. And so he petitioned the local government. They pretty well told him to F off. The people next door told him to F off. And that went on for at least, what, a year? And
2
finally,
years.
yeah,
His
many
business was
years.
destroyed.
Yeah, his business was destroyed and lost everything. And so he bought a old bulldozer and he put himself inside the bulldozer and welded it shut with metal and concrete, essentially making it bulletproof, and then went on a rampage throughout the town, attacking local businesses, local politicians, the place that had rerouted his water. Like that, you want to talk about evil, like taking a dude's ability to take a shit. You take a guy's ability to just take a shit away from him, that'll piss somebody off. And so
Yeah, so
he
he
ran,
welded it all together, right? And then
welded it
he
together.
made sure to
ran
weld
the
himself
bulldozer.
shut.
Yeah, he wanted. It
couldn't
was
get
a
out.
suicide mission.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then
he
he ended
couldn't
up. He after he got stuck, he ended up killing himself. But
Yeah, he shot himself
it's
inside.
it's great footage. The only person that died was him, and he probably did what, millions of dollars worth of damage. Like Dankula,
$20 million or something.
Count
like that,
Dankula over on YouTube. Everybody should like and subscribe.
Yeah.
He got a video all about the Mad Lad Killdozer that goes into great detail on this thing, and
Yeah, exactly what happened.
has the
and why
tainted
he got
feature,
upset.
tainted feature. I always get that wrong. Has his theme song going over it. It's great footage of seeing the
So
Killdozer.
he's kind of like the guy from Office Space with the stapler. That's what
Yes.
that reminds me of.
Yeah, no,
It's
he literally went
their
full
own
slow
gay.
basically. Yeah.
But
There's a
I
British-
think
Wow.
like
there's a British equivalent of that story as well. There's a guy called no one knows about it though.
Oh, please tell me.
There's a guy called Albert Dryden, and
yeah.
he built
Oh,
this
the
tiny. he
Scottish
built-
one?
Yeah, it's Scottish one. He shot the
Yeah, he
Council
shot the
Planning
guy.
Commission on live TV
Yeah,
with an
Count
old
Dankula.
Webley.
Is-
Wait, he
is,
shot what?
He shot
he
like
shot
so
him-
basically like he built this tiny house and you could hardly see it, and it was just like he's just a hermit who just wanted to live.
He liked guns though. He had a lot of guns.
And he was been living in it with his mum, and like she died like 2 days before, and then they were like, "We're literally coming to destroy it right now." And apparently, this planning permission guy was the worst guy ever. Like everyone knew he was out there to really, screw the little man. And Albert Dryden said to him, like, "Look, I'll take it down, but I don't want you destroying it because I need to get my stuff out. I need to I'll just take it down. Don't worry about it." And they were like, no. And he wasn't having that. And he just pushed him to the limit. And Albert Dryden came out and shot him in front of news cameras. And then just
actually, what he said before they showed up was, "If you come here,
oh yeah, I'll blow it up.
I'm gonna shoot you, and I'm gonna shoot you. I'm gonna shoot you if you do it."
I shouldn't smile about it, but I've dealt with, I'm not saying that guy deserved to die, but there is something so frustrating for people in that position where
he was warned.
Some random red tape law has just obscured. Basically, you're just like, look, I literally just want to, I don't even want to do anything. I just want to live in this tiny house. Like, you've made it so difficult for me to live.
Yeah.
And now you're annoyed that I'm this angry. There's so many cases.
Well, I have stories like that as well.
Because nobody understands until they get a story like that, like a killdozer or the guy shooting the politician. Until that story happens, then it goes, oh, well, I guess we should be a little more friendly and a little more helpful to people. That lasts for about 3 hours, and then everybody goes right back to being bastards who believe only in, well, the numbers on the screen say that you can't do that, so you can't do that.
Well,
Sorry.
I had a situation like that with my family. Me and my parents, we were basically pestered for 2 years by the bylaw officers because my old man was parking his work trucks in our driveway occasionally, and we had this really crazy neighbor that would just basically give the bylaw people an excuse to have a power trip. And thankfully that neighbor moved. And I also, this is just speculation, but this crazy neighbor, I suspect, killed one of my cats because he was trapping cats. And this cat I had for 10 years at the point, Boots, R.I.P. Boots, disappeared one day, and Boots would never, go away ever. But so we had to go through a court case and everything, and they claimed that we didn't have, we have, because when my grandfather was still alive, we have a little apartment attached to our house. They claimed that we built it illegally back in 1991. So my old man had to get the vellum plans that they gave us back in the day. It was terrible, but the thing is, they would do stuff they would go in our backyard at nighttime and take pictures, and they would we would see the flashes outside and what the fuck's going on? And it's they're really, it's terrible. Yeah, these people.
This is actually municipal politics is like this.
Yeah.
Anybody who's ever built stuff knows the pain of having to pull permits for crap reasons like that.
Now I have an idea. I have an idea on how to solve this thing. What if you get a bunch
What if you
of
get
rich
some
people...
fertilizer and some deep
Easy there.
Before we get to the fertilizer, there's another thing we can do.
Get an antique Webley.
Yeah, you just split an atom in your back garage.
You see, if you take a balloon and you take tin foil with some helium and you throw it up into the power. Never mind.
Oh man. Okay, so let's say you have a bunch of millionaires that are bored. They don't know what to do with their money. They feel, you know what, my life is a joke. I'm not doing anything to help society. What if we bring them all together and say, hey, you want to make some people really, really happy? Let's just have a universal tracker for a system where somebody like you, Gio, with that situation with your father, or anybody who is that situation, like that log cabin guy, they can just go to that fund. They can just report their situation and just have a bunch of millionaires just start cracking down on some local jurisdiction, just making their life hell.
Millionaires chaos maxing everywhere.
Yeah,
exactly. No, I'm serious. Why the fuck not?
That would be fun to do as a millionaire. To be the millionaire who's I'm going to go in and cause problems for local government. I'm gonna really give them red tape because it's not F me money. It's not F you money. It's F me money.
It's F me money.
I have enough money to where I can just screw myself and I can send a proxy to court cases all across this country and not give a shit. Let's just blow all the money.
And think of how happy the people would be who
Yeah.
are in these binds with these stupid local people, you know, like...
Imagine
there
if
could be-
Epstein had done that. It would be a different story about him being murdered,
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
because like, look, food. Sure, people would be grateful for more food, but let's face it, the United States, it's got a lot of food. That's not a problem right now.
Well, it's
but
a type of food, Lev. It's a
Imagine
type
if
of food.
Epstein had done that.
yeah, he'd be a national hero. They'd be erected, and they'd know about the island. They wouldn't even care. They'd still like erect a statue of him.
They would give him
Oh
as a
my God.
CRISPR
That's
Lolita
essentially what he was
GFs.
doing, by the way. That's why the scientific community wasn't coming out against him. That's why that happened. That's the reason that Epstein happened is literally that. He was giving money to all kinds of industries.
So
and
it
they were
just
like,
come
"Yeah,
out
love
that
this guy and his weird teeth."
it just come out that Bill Gates' wife had filed for divorce in 2019, citing the stuff with Epstein.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that shoe might be.
Wait, how
dropping
could
soon.
she not know about that shit though? Like,
She did,
He had
Len.
a
That's
good
the
life.
point.
right? No,
She had a good life.
She would have
did.
known-
Of
yeah,
course she
yeah.
fucking knew.
He was like Carmela Soprano. Come on, let's go.
He was on that
Yeah.
plane many, many times, Mr. Gates.
Like we all
Yeah, I'm
saw Pirates of Silicon Valley. We know the true story of Bill Gates and what he did.
Well, who was Bill Gates' old man? Wasn't he also some influential guy?
He was a government type. Wasn't he a full-on glow in the dark?
Pretty
Something
sure
like
somebody
that.
did see it. I
Well,
don't
apparently
remember.
Peter Thiel's giving us all money now, so that's.
Oh,
Can
sick.
can he go on Saturday Night Live next?
Yeah.
Oh god. But I think like no, but that's kind of like the symptom of this thinking, like how come like there's no millionaire to come and save us, to like give us their money, and like have like based in red pill causes. I think like the problem is I know it's like such a like a Marxoid type of like talking point, but the problem really is more like structural and systematic than like, I mean, as good as like a bunch of millionaires that are based in red pill coming and like chaos maxing, I feel like in some ways, if someone were to like do that among the like ultra plutocrat class, they would like get Waco'd the next day or something, like some, or they would get like suicided or whatever.
Yeah, there would be they would accidentally kill themselves.
Yeah, or they'll be found out like
Shoot
autoerotic
themselves in the back.
asphyxiation.
Yeah,
Wait, but
autoerotic,
why-
Or
but
shoot
why would-
themselves in the back of the head twice?
But
That's
why
the
would
classic.
hold on. Why would they care about what a millionaire does in some local jurisdiction that's not that powerful?
You'd be surprised how much all this stuff trickles down into the
Because
local
it's
level.
influence. Because you're
Yeah.
exerting influence.
You can't give the little
that
people
can't-
the
you
hope
can't-
that they could change
You can't.
things.
If you're a hegemon to the power, to the power like differential that the U.S. government is to its citizenry, like there's no, you can't give them a single, like the idea of actually allowing people to enact change. If you want to be the one who controls the way that change works, there's no way that you're going to allow it. It's just not in the cards.
Well, as far as
Even
funding
strategically,
certain
it's like
as far as
Well, okay.
funding certain things that would, let's say, starve the beast more or less, because wouldn't this be something that Peter Thiel likes to do, or is attempting to do in some way?
Yes.
I mean,
Are
he
you
jumped in
asking-
with Hulk Hogan. Like the whole Hulk Hogan thing was crazy.
Oh yeah,
'Cause
against
Peter
God.
Thiel-
Yeah.
Peter Thiel got outed as being gay by Gawker like 5 years before that, and he just happened to have been in the Middle East, so it was a big to do. I think it was Saudi Arabia, so he had to leave in the middle of the night because being gay in
Yeah,
Saudi
it's
Arabia,
illegal.
it's a death penalty, and he took that personally. And when
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan tape came out through them, and he found out that they were denying a judge's order, he's like, "Oh, I've got him," and he put millions of dollars into sinking them. It's beautiful. I would love to see more billionaires doing that kind of stuff.
Well, even I think the journalist class itself, like, there are people who are exiting. Like, I mean, the fact that, like, I don't know, like Glenn Greenwald could like go on Nicolo Salo's interview Substack. I mean, that's that would be unthinkable. Like, not but 5 years ago, right?
Yeah. So
I mean-
already I think that there are good signs, and like I said with education before, if all of a sudden we get all these parents who start taking their kids out of public school, bringing them in these alternative programs that can start coming up and be competitive, then maybe that's one way that, let's say, Gen Alpha or whatever will figure out a way to starve the beast, and will figure out a way not to depend on a lot of these stupid old ways that these things have been done and these stupid bylaws, and maybe then we will get some people living in cabins if they want to. I don't know. I just don't think that the elite that we have right now, the ones that, let's say, are the busybodies that would prevent somebody from living in a log cabin, I see them as being very, like, spiritually inferior people. I'm not sure if they have that much will to power to be able to withstand something a lot more, spiritually cohesive. I could be wrong, but I don't know.
Well,
All right,
kind of,
so these
what
log
can
cabins.
they do? What can they do? Like, it's okay. The reason that the Webley guy shot the councilman is because he literally didn't have any other option in his mind. Like, he had tried everything. He had spoken to them about it as much as possible. He'd refused outright to do what they said, and it didn't matter because they were just going to come do it anyway. And the thing is that because it's the government, you can't be like, no. If you resist them, they will arrest you or put you in prison or kill you. And that's the end of the conversation. So
That's why, and that's why I think, like, it's like, what it came up with BAP and Thomas 777, how, like, he's like, the cops really aren't your friend, or, like, I don't know, if you just fill these institutions with based in red pill people, they're not going to look at you as, like, you're a fellow, like, shitlord, or you're a fellow white man, or you're a fellow whatever. They're going to look at you as just, like, some jagoff civilian that's, like, in between their paycheck, right? So that's, like, what are you going to do? Like,
it's exactly that.
well, I mean, like, look at like, in the UK, like, all these laws. I mean, in Canada, we're just as bad, but, like, there's, like, all of these, like, harassment laws, and, I know it's a meme at this point, but it's like...
But again, you're talking about the system. My point is that maybe there's a way, without subverting the system itself, to be able to have the system itself, or let's say the bad parts of the system that we find to be overly invasive of our privacy and our lives, to have them wither away like a small organ that's no longer needed by the virtue of people figuring out a way to
that
work.
organ's needed. That organ is very needed by the elite.
Well, by the elite, but I'm saying...
Yeah, but that's the point. They have all power. Like, what are you going to do? They can move the capital around to make things happen in a way that you can. Mm-hmm. And the difference, it's completely asymmetric. You're essentially saying, can we create a parallel system inside of a system that doesn't allow, that is currently attempting to take over the entire planet? You think it's going to let you inside of it? It's like, I'm going to become cancer inside of an extremely effective immune system. It just...
Well,
it
I gave the
like
example of schooling, where there would be competitive schools that would start off from the internet instead of, let's say, the teachers' union.
But then the problem is that they'll go like the German system, where, like, homeschooling's illegal. That's like they're going to.
Well, I'm not talking about Germany right now. I'm talking about the United States.
No, but I mean, in the United States, it's more complex. But I feel like they're already sort of trying to shift the discourse into, like, weird religious people homeschool their kids. So do you want those weirdos having the right over their own children?
Again, we'll see what happens. I keep bringing up people like Barry Weiss for a reason, because she is exposing what a lot of people who are, let's say, of a more wealthier variety living in Manhattan, putting their kids in these schools, the frustration they're feeling. They're not hiding it. They're being very open and saying how much these indoctrinational schools suck, how much we don't want our kids in there. These are people with money, and these are people who can vote with their wallet as far as at least funding better systems of schooling, and they're going to be the voice against this hysteria. You know,
I mean, people
again,
with the money aren't the only people on Earth with influence.
True, but I'm speaking specifically about. I'm speaking, Alexandra, about people like within your neck of the woods. You know, like people who care about their kids' education and notice certain bad things happening and are finally paying attention to the fact that their kids are being brainwashed.
Lev, I think I'm gonna head off, mate.
Before you head off, James, I want to plug all of your stuff all at once right now, because you have been absolutely wonderful, and I really thank you for staying here. So here we go.
Been great.
It has been very great. So James Ellis, aka Meta Nomad. You know why I'm speaking slowly, because I'm looking things up here. Okay, so go to twitter.com/Meta Nomad. Please follow Meta Nomad on Twitter. You will not regret it. And then the next thing you gotta do is you have to buy Meta Nomad's book, Exiting Modernity. Here is the Amazon link, so be sure to click that. And of course, if you go into Meta Nomad's Hermetics YouTube channel, you are going to be very pleased with what you see. He has wonderful interviews with wonderful, very intriguing people, and here is the link to that right over here. So be sure to click that, twitter.com, Hermetics Podcast, and of course the Patreon, patreon.com/Hermetics. Hold on, that was not the right link. Let me do it one more time. Oh yeah, it was the right link. Here we go, patreon.com/Hermetics. Be sure to go there, become a patron of James. And James, I want to thank you so much for being here on the LEVSTREAM. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you. Yeah.
Cool.
Love you,
Nice to
boy.
meet you all. Catch you
Take
later.
care. Talk to you
Bye.
soon.
Bye.
Visit my Twitter.
Will do.
Yes,
Visit my Twitter.
Porco Rosso rides again. Now, why did Porco Rosso ride before, and now, why that title?
Because the Miyazaki film Porco Rosso is about a pig who flies
A
an
fighter
airplane.
pilot.
He's a fighter pilot, and so my Twitter, he's flying again. This is Porco Rosso has returned to us in some form, shape, or another. It's like Jesus. I don't know. Anyways, I'm working on this. It's looking good.
Oh,
Can't really
wow.
see-
Pretty
Hold on.
good.
Let me make a bigger...
Hey,
Awesome.
that's pretty good.
Nice.
I don't know if you can see it.
I do. That is beautiful. That is
Thank
beautiful
you.
stuff.
I'll upload it to the artisan board when it's finished.
Excellent. Yes, we do have an artisan board, by the way, which I keep ignoring at my own peril. But you can go to the artisan board on our Discord, the link of which I'm going to post over here right now. Here is the link to the Discord. Be sure to become a member of the Discord. And we have 194 members online, 673 members in total in the Discord. That's a pretty good number, but we got to keep growing that. And of course, subscribe to the LEVSTREAM, because you know you want to. We're going to keep doing more streams here. We're going to keep doing more streams on BTR. And we are going to have, by the way, Ed West coming on BTR on Tuesday. So Ed West, for those who don't know, he is the senior editor of the British journal Unheard. So how many of you guys have read Unheard?
Oh yeah.
Gio, how would you describe Unheard? What would be a good definition?
Alternative, dissident. They have like more mainstream people, but no, they publish some really quality stuff. I would say like they're a bit better than Quillette, put it that way. But that's not saying much.
I like Quillette.
Well, speaking of Quillette, we're gonna have Kathy Young joining us on that one.
Yay.
You mean
Well,
Quillette?
And we're gonna have, and you know who else we're gonna have? We're gonna have Alex Kashuta. We're gonna have Alex Kashuta joining
She's
us on that
back?
one.
Oh, cool.
She's back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Alex is
She's a
back.
good friend of mine.
Yeah.
Oh.
And here is the link to that stream, by the way. Be sure to go in here. See, I have a picture of him with a top hat, with a fancy top hat that my dad
God.
painted on him. And the book that he wrote, by the way, is called Small Men on the Wrong Side of History. So I've been reading that book, and it's about conservatism in Britain. Now, one thing that I wanted to ask Made a Nomad, but I could also ask it to you, Gio, is this is just something I was thinking about. When it comes to Oswald Spengler's predictions, from what I understand, he thought that all this stuff was supposed to happen like within, half century or like it was like complete, destruction of any normative thing. But that's not the way it happened. I mean, right now we're still talking about, the end's right around the corner. But according to him, the end was way more around the corner than where we are right now. We should have already been like in a post-apocalyptic stage or whatever. So would you, at least that's what I heard. I didn't read him yet. So am I
He doesn't
wrong about...
exactly say, I mean, he...
No, he
Yeah.
from what I understand, he does exactly say. He exactly predicts this is when it's happening. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but that's the info I got. That's the intel I got.
It's kind of complicated to, I mean, any time you have someone that is making sort of a grand claim about like psychohistory itself, there's always going to like inevitably be slip ups and things like that. But I think like what he meant was more of like our world as he knew it and he understood it collapsed, which it did in a lot of ways, and that the world we live in now shares a bunch of like fundamentally different assumptions about reality than like the world that he was occupying in like, you know, post Weimar Germany, like, you know, right before the Nazis came to power, right? So,
When do you think the turn of society was? Do you think it was World War One? You think that was the?
I think it was the French Revolution.
yeah, well, even before that, some people say the Glorious Revolution. Some people say, I tend to believe it was when Machiavelli collapsed the distinction between like just oligarchy and the divine right of kings. But that's just my own spurg brain trad take. I think.
How Machiavellian of him.
I mean, people do say the French Revolution, though. That's probably a good.
Yeah, French Revolution is definitely a big like, and I feel like we're getting there again. The way people are being canceled, like it's very French Revolution-y.
Yes.
Where it's like
that's
you
a nice
can't
analogy.
you can't work anymore. This guy, you're done. You're dead. Like it's going to come to a point where they're going to try to just kill somebody. Where they're going to call for
like that's what
I
Bat
think they're
believes, that
ready
the
to
rhetoric
go.
is getting to that level.
Like we're
So-
getting there. We're not that far, and there have been guillotines put out at certain protests and things. That has been a thing that people have done.
Well, in the
Which is not-
French
which is
Revolution,
upsetting.
there was this guy. I looked at an image of him. He was supposed to be one of the leaders of the revolution. He looks like a pig man. Is his name Dalton or Darton? Let me look up this
Well,
guy. I'm
Robespierre
gonna post.
kinda
Is he
looked,
Porco Rosso?
Yeah, that was Porco Rosso's first incarnation.
Well,
no,
Red Pig.
Robespierre even had like a very particularly ghastly physiognomy. So
yeah,
make
but
of
this
that
guy
what you
even more
will.
so. Like this guy here, let me see. French Revolution. By the way, shout outs. Tago Musi says that's the girl from Buffalo '66. I'm not sure who she's
Wait,
talking about
who's
What?
the wait, which
Oh.
are you referring to?
on the screen. Oh, by the way, I found him. This is the guy
Oh,
right
you
over
mean
here.
Chloe 70?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at this guy. Look at this guy.
Oh God.
So this is
Ooh.
Georges. This is
Oh, wow.
Georges.
He looks like mulatto though. He looks,
He
He
looks like
Shrek.
Porco Rosso.
Georges
Put a
Jean
scarf on him.
Danton. So he was the leading figure in the early stage of the French Revolution, and he was the first president of the Committee of Public Safety. Many historians describe him as the chief force in the overthrow of the French monarchy and the establishment of the First French Republic.
No
He
wonder
was
he's ugly.
guillotined-
He hated beauty. I mean, come on.
He was
come on.
guillotined. He was guillotined.
If
by
you
the
hate
advance-
monarchy, you hate beauty, in my opinion. That's
Oh
just me.
really?
Most monarchy
Jeez.
becomes ugly very quickly.
Oh, by the way,
I
this
don't,
is
I
his
don't
wife.
oppose monarchy. I
Th- th-
oppose the,
this
the
is-
things,
Let me
the
see-
things
let
that
me see
monarchy
this
For the
He's
revolution, and they
He's
ended
cute.
up.
She's
turning
all
on
right.
him.
I'd give her a poke.
Oh, thanks.
Oh,
Gio, have you been watching too much Tim and Eric?
She's
'Cause
good
that's,
enough for a poke.
good enough for a poke. I love where
Did Tim and Eric
when
say
Larry.
that?
Yeah, there was this whole thing with Carol and Mr. Henderson. So Mr. Henderson was played by Tim Heidecker, and there was like this businessman. It was kind of like The Office from hell, where this businessman would continuously sexually harass Carol, who was Eric dressed up in like a woman's,
Oh, God.
like a fat suit and like these.
I think
breasts.
Kids in the Hall did that like a few decades before them, but that's just me. I don't know.
Yeah, well, with that Tim and Eric sketch, in one of them, what happened was Carol made a secret videotape for Mr. Henderson, and he took that tape and he called the entire office to watch the tape of her like jiggling her breasts around and telling how much she loved Mr. Henderson. And then he was like, "Boy, I would have a sex with a dog before that," to the entire
God.
people who were watching that. And he was like, "Poke or no poke?" And then Larry, who was this chubby guy next to him, said, "I'd like to give it a no poke. No poke. See, nobody wants to do ya, especially not me." So he's basically creating this whole environment of absolute
Sexual
detestability and
harass.
yeah, exactly. But Carol loved it. Like, Carol could never say that she loved it, like she always got abused by him, but inside she loved it so much that in the Christmas Carol, which was what Tim and Eric did for their Crimbus special, they had like the sequel to that whole series, where now Carol and Mr. Henderson are married, and every morning Mr. Henderson goes to her with like this bed and breakfast, and he's so caring and loving, and she hates it so fucking much that she ends up acting out in public, like when they're in a restaurant and he offers her
See,
half a
this is
slice
why
of
we
pizza.
need more.
Yeah.
We need more sexual harassment, not less. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, but then what ended up happening was it's revealed that even though Carol is his favorite thing in the world, his second favorite thing in the world is collecting guillotines. Speaking of the French
God.
Revolution, by the way, I didn't even.
guillotine
I,
collector.
yes, I didn't even mean to, but yeah, it just happened like that. That's synchronicity for you. Anyway, so one day he's
I'm
in
just
his
marveling
basement.
at how long this is taking.
I'll get to it. I'll get to it, yeah. So,
Yeah, it's
okay.
a long, shaggy dog here, isn't it?
Yes. So one day in the basement, when Eric
No,
is
I meant how
cleaning-
long it's taking me to carve this. Not.
Oh,
not what
okay.
you're saying.
Well, either way, when and look at how beautiful that is, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that. Look at that texture, Gio. You are a master craftsman.
Well,
That
it's not gonna. You have to realize that when I print it, it's all in reverse. So you're gonna have to wait till.
That's fine. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah,
I'm
he has
still
to flip it
still a
the other
master
way. Like, you can see
Like,
the detail even from there.
like the McDonald's logo.
hard to get,
I'm loving it.
Like I basically like to get a semitone like with the fabric. Like I can just. I'll throw up. You know what? I'm just gonna throw you the reference photo, Lev.
Okay.
It's very hard to like get midtones with any sort of like relief printing. So what you have to do is like rely on what they call tinting, which is the similar principle to like pen and ink, where you're cross hatching. So hopefully all of these little marks will like produce pretty decent like allusions to like tinting, and plus they just have like little crazy squiggly designs, which I usually like try to capture. Like I don't really care about uniform design. I'm very much inspired by printmakers like Kathy Kollwitz, where like a lot of contemporary printmaking, like especially with lino cut, it's like they'll do like a lot of like design work. But me, I just I like a variety of different lines, although for some people it becomes grating. But this is a very like emotional subject matter. So I feel like
It's very beautiful.
yeah, it's similar to that German expressionist printmaking vibe of like hopefully like stark black and white can convey some type
Well,
of like terror.
I was just gonna say it reminds me of the Vienna Secessionists a bit.
yeah, a little bit. I mean, they were heavily design orientated, so yeah.
But so with the story, so Carol goes into the basement, and Mr. Henderson is in the basement, and he's cleaning his guillotine. But the way that he cleans it, he has that little fluffy thing. He puts his head through the thing, and the guillotine's on top, and he's just cleaning the guillotine like that. And so she walks in, and she's just so fed up with Mr. Henderson being nice to her that she goes and she activates the guillotine and it falls on him, but it doesn't completely chop his head off. Like, he's still alive. So he's in the hospital, and then she sees Gary's Larry's brother Gary. So they're twin brothers. So Larry is the fat guy who always takes it too far. So if we go back in time, when Tim playing Mr. Henderson, when Tim he loves to splash hot coffee on Carol, because that's how he shows her he loves her. You know what I mean? So, E donated $2. People were allegedly, whoa, what is going on here? Okay, I'm gonna have to read that later because that's too much text. I have to load it up.
Wait,
but thank you so
people
much
were
for that.
allegedly what?
Allegedly.
Allegedly, I'm gonna have to look at why. And why is that not appearing on the sidebar? I don't know, but let me go to Streamlabs and see what that is about. But anyway, Mr. Henderson loves showing his affection for Carol by splashing her with hot coffee in his cup. But Larry, who is the fat guy who works for him, always takes it too far. So in one sketch, when Mr. Henderson splashed her with the coffee cup, then Larry took the entire glass of like the coffee jug or whatever, like the coffee maker, the coffee pot, and he smashed her in the head with a coffee pot, and she fell down. She fainted. He knocked her out, and he ended up getting a really stern talking to by Mr. Henderson because he loves her, and Larry took it too far. So anyway, Larry's brother is Gary, and they look exactly the same. They're played by the same actor. And Gary started coming on to Carol, basically calling her like a big fat, what's that purple eggplant? He called her like a big fat
Oh,
eggplant creature.
Moulignon? No.
Yes. And he
Oh,
says,
God.
I
and
don't know
he
if you
sa-
could say that on live stream.
Oh,
And he's-
Melanson. I'll say the real.
and he said something about her being tied up in the barnyard and having the barn animals go at her first, before he inserts his wick in. Oh, by the way, speaking of wick, Mr. Henderson loves using the line wick every time. Wick. So he says, like, a fantasy of mine is to put my wick into some poison, the kind that keeps your rod numb, so you
Ugh.
can go in and stay in. And and I hope you're not planning on having any kids because it's very damaging to the vaginal canal. And Carol
Oh,
says,
Vaginal?
yes, and Carol vaginal. And Carol says, I would love that, sir. Like, she's just like everything that he says that is like absolutely horrible. She's like, thank you, sir. I love that, sir.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
Yeah. So you can imagine like the dynamic here, the relationship of
Yeah,
Carol
one
and
of
Mr.
those
Henderson.
girls.
Yes, exactly. And so it gets to the point of the story here is that
So she's the perfect woman, in other words.
But
A
it-
traditional
but when-
shed wife.
No!
But when he gets married to her, and when he becomes like the doting husband, she hates it so much that she ends up having an affair with that twin brother, with Gary, until Mr. Henderson finally wakes up and then like beats Gary up with his cane, and then it's a happy ending. Then she's like, "I got my old Mr. Henderson back. I couldn't ask for a better Christmas gift." So
Oh my God.
there we go.
Christmas.
So $2 from E. People were allegedly executed in Prospect Park, the unsung home park of carnivore and Type Zero negative lead singer, an apparently very peaceful large man named Pete Steele. Very uncool.
Oh.
Happy Sunday. Oh, it's Mother's Day. I
Yeah, it's
completely
Mother's
forgot.
Day,
It
yeah.
is Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Stay.
There's a
No,
lot
we
of
can't say
mothers
that.
out there today.
Happy child, happy birth giver day. That's what we have to say now.
Yes.
According
Happy
to
front hole
Gnarl.
birthday.
So, happy Sunday Mom Day. However, BTR logo idea, BTR 80 with US flag. 80? Why 80? It looks kind of like a face, right? Like the 8 is kind of like the eyes and the O's like the mouth. But I'm not really sure. E, can you elaborate a little bit on that idea? Because I'm curious about that. But what is this about executed
Wait,
in
who is saying
Prospect-
that in the chat?
E. So the name is like E, like the letter E. And E
Oh.
donated a lot of stuff last time. I mean, E donated $20 on the last Lev stream, including like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So altogether $27. That's how much E donated on the last stream a week ago. Exactly a week ago. So
I
E,
can't
thank
believe
you so
we
much
had
for
that
that.
$400 donation by an Albanian.
That was insane.
Yeah, it's
What the
too bad
fuck?
what happened after. Oh, never mind. I'm not gonna talk about it.
Yeah, should we talk about that?
Yeah.
I mean, look, my whole thing is we could talk about it. That's no problem. But my whole thing, just with the content itself and stuff like that, like I wanna do good by Aiden, and she didn't request anything. Just so you know, she didn't request shit. She didn't ask me to take it down or anything. But my whole thing is I want to let sleeping dogs lie and just move on from this whole thing. You know, that's
Yeah,
Well, actually,
like I have a lot of respect for Aiden. I love her work. I love how feisty she is, and I feel bad about what happened, and that's all I want to say about
I know
that.
people were bummed, but let me tell you the reason, well, out of respect for Abe, but also just purely for OPSEC reasons in terms of the YouTube, certain malicious people that will mass report. We didn't want to deal with that because YouTube, I feel like, unfortunately, the way things stand now, without there are alternative platforms and we're on most of them. But because the way YouTube
but even there, like I wouldn't go out of my way to like start to see like who has the copy or all that kind of stuff.
No,
like,
it's
if you want to find a copy of it, I'm sure you could find it somewhere.
Of
but
the,
my
of
whole
the,
thing
of the comic?
the full
of the full thing. But my point is like I wouldn't help in doing that just so karmically wise. Like if you find it, you find it. Whatever. Like.
Yeah, I mean, I had somebody. There've been people uploading it, and like you can, it got recommended.
Even
to
private things, people uploading.
Yeah, it
which
got
I find
recommended.
fucking stupid and retarded.
Well.
And, sorry, I mean I'm trying to avoid the R word, but like,
Uh,
I just find like, never mind.
no, it's,
I mean,
it's understandable.
The biggest thing for me though is that I really think that this is just like in general, whenever things like this happen, and it's such a I think it's such an understandable principle that whenever somebody attacks you, goes after you, like, it's like a Chinese finger trap. Like, the more you try to engage and the more you try to, like, push back, the more
Exactly.
they keep pushing.
Yeah.
And it's like,
You need to
It's
stop.
unfortunate, yeah, that not to
You always
criticize
just
people.
need to relax.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't
people
care.
like
I'll say it.
that
I'll say it. Just, hey, cyberbullying isn't real. Just
yeah.
walk away.
Yeah.
Just walk away from the screen.
I mean, you know, there's
You can always just chill out instead of flipping the fuck out and giving them exactly what they want.
Mhm.
I understand it in the context, but at the same time, it's like you're not doing yourself any favors. You know what I mean? I'm glad that you guys deleted it though. It's a smart decision.
Yeah,
in my
the
opinion.
old
There were fans of ours that came up and said like, Gio, maybe you guys should like rein it in, like in terms of that, like that portion. Yeah, it's just not.
Yeah.
It's just not cricket. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Otherwise, I thought it was a pretty good stream.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it was.
it
great.
was, yeah.
Even with that, it was hilarious. But
I don't know about
But you guys
that.
took
You
it
know,
Oh god.
I feel like getting heel heat like that. Like I don't know
Yeah,
if that's
go
necessarily
home
what you
heat.
boys are after.
Well, yeah. I mean, if it was
exactly,
like I don't know,
I agree with that. I
if
agree
it was
with
like the
that.
kill stream, it would have been like we would have fucking milked it like a cow.
Yeah,
But
I
Yeah,
don't think that's you
but
guys.
that's-
Like
that's
I,
scummy.
I like
Yeah.
Ralph. Like I think Ralph's a character. Like he's
Yeah.
wild. And
Well, he is a
those
character,
boys,
that's-
those boys are very rowdy. I'll say I'll be nice.
Yeah, that fight was
That's-
pretty.
That's very
pretty
nice,
dope.
rowdy.
Pretty dope footage.
Yeah.
But
That reminds me of another Tim and Eric sketch where they were
yeah.
creating man
You
milk real
fuck,
fast,
you fucking
real
left.
fast,
Here we
real
go,
fast.
here
Hold
we
on,
go.
hold on, da, 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 da,
people
da.
walk
real
in
fast,
like,
real
what
fast.
is this schizo thing?
Hold on. And there was this guy under the Christmas tree whose name is Coy, C-O-Y, and I believe it was Tim who said to Eric, who was supposed to be like his dad, he said to him, he's a good boy, and then Eric said, he's a boy. So anyway, I just want to throw that in there.
That's
Okay.
like Tony Soprano.
Old
Whenever
man
he was
milk.
insulting people, he'd be like, "Oh, Mikey, how's the boy?" He's like, "What boy?" He's like, "Yeah, the boy you're sleeping with." Gay joke. Early 2000s. No, I know
Yeah.
it was kind of stupid, but
yeah, the song. Some way we were in the car the other day, and the radio come on, and I'll be damned if the song that played on the radio wasn't the Dire Straits' "Money for Nothing."
yeah. Oh
and they
God.
played the full song. And when the song and the words came up, I was like, "Oh my God! They actually had it in there,
Uncensored.
Woo!
Man.
Live over the radio."
Woo!
Somebody,
Look at that gusher, Arn. Look at that gusher. Woo!
Yeah. yeah, somebody did not pay attention to what they were playing.
Oh,
'Cause
man.
I feel like that song played a million times when I was a kid, and it still plays. Like we'll still flip the radio on. Oh, hey, there's Dire Straits for whatever reason playing.
Oh God.
2021, fully uncensored, fully out there, just letting it fly.
But I do feel like the reason like a lot of this type of stuff is popular, like in terms of like internet like lolcowdom, it's just I think like if you can get a rise out of someone,
Yeah,
it's like really that's the goal and that's the mission. And whether I mean, I know we all like to laugh at Chris Chan or whatever, but I mean, well, I shouldn't use Chris Chan as example because I think at least to some extent, and I know this is very controversial, and I said this on stream, and I think Lev clipped it once, and I had like negative votes. I think like Chris is partially responsible. Oh, sorry, Christine is partially like responsible for a lot of that for various
No,
reasons.
but at a certain point, though, like I said before, when you're mentally unstable, how much responsibility do you really have? When it
yeah,
comes to
that's
these
true.
things?
That's
Yeah,
One-
Christine is like straight up like she is autistic and she cannot like be held responsible for
yeah, but high
her
functioning
lunacy.
autism, high
See,
functioning.
it wasn't that high functioning, dude. I think like
Yeah.
high functioning autism is kind of a misnomer, anyways. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I remember being in like
Autism's a
being in
myth.
high
Porgeros says autism is a myth. No, I'm kidding.
misnomer. I remember being in like high school and like drawing like Chris Chan fan art.
Oh my
Deep
God.
lore!
Wait, you were an
Wow.
actual gal pal.
Not a
You
gal
were
pal. No,
really-
it was like
you were
trolling
really
fan art.
good.
It was troll fan art, and
Yeah.
it was Chris
You were-
and
you
his
were-
and his
Okay. I'm upset.
whatever that guy who like
I
pretended to
thought
be
you really
him.
liked it.
Oh, Ian
Anyway.
Brandon Anderson?
Yeah, so they were making love.
Yeah, I don't know what what to really make of the Chris Chan saga. There's so many chapters and so much that's gone on and so much that's
It's
happened.
wonderful. There's
Well,
so much
it's hilarious.
more.
Yeah, there's
Like
so much
Liquid
more.
Chris.
Yeah.
It's
Liquid Chris forever.
so to a point, it's very funny that here's this person who made a bad webcomic and got very angry. Okay, that's people criticizing the bad comic. Like that's okay, sure. Like we can laugh at that and have a good time. Once you start crossing the line into like calling people and you're
Or
bothering,
what Blue Spike did, yeah. Then that's,
Yeah.
like there's a lot of lines that people have crossed. Like it's one
Come on,
thing to laugh at somebody
The
being
Pickle
mad.
Man.
It's
the Pickle
another
Man
thing
one.
to
The Pickle Man
start
prank was
harassing people
fucking
and going
amazing.
after them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
No, I mean, I think that stuff
you know-
bounces back at you karmically, definitely.
oh, for
It
sure,
does,
it
for
has
sure.
to.
But,
Because
I mean-
but like that being said, I mean, I don't know, like if it was an op or whatever. Never mind. I'm not gonna even. What's the point in talking?
I mean,
about
it is one thing to kind of like, I know it could be
You're
funny,
insane.
and we talked about Chris Chan before with all the various sagas, and the world that he paints in his head is a very peculiar one. You know, it is something to.
Aren't they a woman now? Aren't they Christine? Is that
Oh yeah,
Christine.
Christine, yeah.
like I
Yeah.
don't want to be?
Well,
I don't
I'm
wanna be
talking
the-
about
that
I'm
guy.
talking about like the past. I'm talking about the past.
Sure.
Chris Chan in the
Yeah. Let's
past,
talk
yeah.
about Bruce Jenner's racing career and when he was Olympic gold medalist.
That was sick.
Oh, that's so big.
I saw Caitlyn Jenner pop up in a documentary talking about when they were a race car driver back when they were Bruce Jenner, and it just felt
Wait,
weird
race
and
car? I
awkward.
thought he was an
He
Olympian.
wasn't a
Well,
race
he
car
was an
driver.
Olympian, but he was also a race car driver. It was
Wow. Wait, then how did they get? How did he or she? How did she run over the dude then? Or
That's
he? I
the
don't know.
by being a big
yeah,
race
that's
car
probably the
driver.
craziest part of it. They never addressed that in this documentary. This was all about a fellow by the name of Willy T. Ribbs. He was the first black.
Willy T. Ribbs, that was the name.
Well, Willy T. Ribbs. Is
Wait,
the
that was
first-
the was that the Adam Carolla doc?
Yes, it's the Adam Carolla Uppity. That's the name of the doc.
Mhm.
He's the first black NASCAR driver, and he also raced F1 and Le Mans, and he done a lot of different race car stuff. And Bill Cosby staked him out one time for the Indy 500. Like he's a very fast character because he would say that the guys were racist, and then they would have the other NASCAR guys on who would say, well, no, he was just a prick. He was real cocky and full of himself.
Yeah, I heard about this.
And so the truth has to be somewhere in the middle. Like, yeah, like
there
you
was a
can tell-
racing guy too in racing that was like kind of banking on like the noose thing.
Yeah, you can
That
tell
happened
that
not too long
Willie's
ago,
a cantankerous fella. Like he very much believes in himself, and he's got some amount of skill. Like he's pretty good at racing.
Yeah, this guy
You know,
wasn't
so
that
there's
good at racing.
and
this
you have
guy.
to think too. It's like NASCAR in the '80s. Like there's a lot of good old boys around. They probably
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
say some
God.
things that they
Oh
shouldn't.
yeah, they were
have said.
probably upset about it a little bit.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
little
probably
bit.
You're coming-
said
you're
a
coming-
few things
you're
that they
coming in
shouldn't have
here.
said.
Yeah,
And-
exactly.
and so
in
the
NASCAR, boy.
Truth
This
has
is
to be
hard.
somewhere in the middle.
We're- what is that shit? Stock car
Yeah.
racing.
Although
Yeah,
they
stuff
probably
like
they probably both would merge in their interests over the what was that cigarettes the ones that they banned right
Oh,
now.
God.
Oh,
Menthol.
Newports, menthols. I think it's all menthols, right?
Yeah.
Do black people watch NASCAR?
There
No.
are black people that watch NASCAR. 100%.
Oh God.
There's
I'm sorry. I
There's
wasn't
like-
trying to
there's
joke
like
about
there was
it.
a
but-
stand-up comedian who had his own podcast all about NASCAR racing.
Oh, by the way, we got 2 donations from E, $2.37. I am just saying really bad stuff is happening close to home as far as the political violence, and that's uncool. My family comes from Astoria. Have a good Mother's Day. In my opinion, a BTR 80 flying a U.S. flag because the minus 80 is mass-produced, or dash 80. Does anybody know what exactly is E talking about with the dash 80? I may be out
What's
of
a
the loop
dash
as far
80?
as...
Is he
Yeah,
talking
I have
about
no idea what it
1988 or something? I don't know.
A BTR, no, it's like some kind of flying the U.S. flag, like a
Oh,
plane,
I don't know,
like
I don't
BTR 80. I think it's kind of like some kind of a plane, like a mass-produced plane. I'm going to take a look, but then another comment, E cent, $2.01. Interesting with these fluctuation of the cents. That's interesting. By the way, my favorite Russian heroes from World War II are the Brest Fortress Wraith and undoubtedly Alexander Ilyich Rodimtsov, who was one of the Spartans of Stalingrad. Look up the photograph of him with his men in the trench, humbling. His eyes saw a lot. Yeah, I'm gonna take a look right now. Let's see.
Yeah, wasn't
And-
there lady snipers? Was it World War One?
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
in
World
World
War
War II and
II.
World War One.
In
Yeah,
Russia,
there were
also-
Russian lady snipers.
There are also lady pilots as well. The Night Witches, I believe they were called.
Huh.
They made an anime out of
The
them.
Night Witches, yeah, those women were crazy because they would turn off their engines,
Engines, yeah.
and glide
Oh, wow.
in. And the fact is that your engine isn't guaranteed to restart.
Yeah.
So
Woof.
it's an extremely dangerous maneuver
Yeah.
to do, and yet these women would do it every night because they were savages.
Yeah, there was some
Wow.
crazy statistic on World War One pilots. Like it was a real high number of them that would go down.
Oh, like
Oh,
they
yeah.
call them flying
Was it
death
like 1 in
machines for a
3?
reason.
One
Yeah,
in
most
4?
of them would die.
Yeah.
I know. You guys are probably familiar with the fella Chuck Yeager.
Yeah.
So Chuck Yeager, his first mission out in World War II, he became an ace fighter pilot, and I believe that was 5 confirmed kills in his first day, and or confirmed takedowns of another plane in a dogfight. Did that his first day. Second day he goes up, his ship takes fire, his plane takes fire, and his co-pilot dies, and the whole plane crashes, burns up all around him, and he just barely manages to get out and survive. But the
Whoa.
co-pilot didn't make it.
Wow.
What a tremendous way to do things. And he's the one who got famous for. He never went into space himself, but he did the a lot of the test stuff on the ground, and he's famous for breaking the sound barrier. That was his big thing.
Well, that's good. I was about to say,
Yeah.
always a bridesmaid, never a bride, but that's
Yeah.
pretty.
Oh yeah,
that's
the
pretty
sound
good one.
barrier thing, that like rocket car. That is, I want to say it went over 800 miles an hour. That it might be 750. Let me look that up.
That's pretty interesting.
Sound barrier car.
That shit's crazy.
What was that?
I used to watch a
yeah,
lot of racing when I was a kid.
like that is. I don't know how you steer something like that that's going that fast.
But they don't turn.
Yeah, it just has to be like straight
You
on,
have to
right?
just keep it. You have to keep it straight on. That's
Yeah, the
crazy
Bell
part,
X1
right?
is the name of the plane.
Mm.
Glamorous Genius is written on the side of it. Yeah,
Mhm.
try to find how fast this sumbitch went.
I
And
love
All right,
his swagger when he said that. Some bitch. Like I love that.
yeah,
Well,
Let's
I went
see.
to
Holy crap!
to
I'm almost
Indianapolis.
done. My God.
Oh man,
That's a-
Gio, you're doing it.
Well, I don't know if you could like see
That
the
looks
heads.
so
I mean, it'll
good.
become more.
all right, there it is. 807 miles per hour. Wow,
Whoa.
Wow.
that is a fast damn thing to be moving.
if you've ever been to an F1 race,
Like when you think that humans aren't meant to go that fast. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what usually
You know-
F1s do, about 200 miles an hour, right?
Back in the very
Yeah,
early days
they-
of like train travel, it was supposed that women couldn't ride on trains because our uteruses would like
Oh yeah,
pop out.
that's true.
yeah,
That's actually true.
Yeah.
That's,
too
I don't
fast.
know what they're talking about.
Read the Bible, you'll know all about that.
Yeah, exactly. No, but F1 is a massive acceleration. It's not just the fact they're going really fast, but it's how fast they get there. Like they're hitting 0 to 200 miles an hour in like a very short period of time, right? And also it's the slowing down to take the corners, right? So if you've ever actually been to an F1 race and seen them in person on a straightaway, the what was it, 700 and what?
It was
Real
800. It said 800 miles per hour.
Okay, it's absurd. Like how would you even see it?
Yeah,
Because you could literally barely see the F1 cars.
it'd be
driving.
like ludicrous speed and damn Spaceballs,
Exactly.
where everything around them
Like,
just starts to bend and goes
Yeah,
flat.
that must be insane. Like literally on the straight. So Indianapolis, right? The stands are on the straightaway, and they come around a corner that's pretty much like a hairpin, right? So they're decelerating massively, but when they jam back up and fly down that straightaway, you literally can't keep your eyes on them. Like you can't look at them while they're driving by.
Yeah.
It just blurs. Right?
Yeah,
So,
1947 he broke the sound barrier. God damn.
holy shit, that's insane.
It makes me wonder how fast the airplane
Hey.
goes now.
Guys, I'm gonna head out. Thank you so much for tolerating me. I'm sorry about earlier when I was like
Oh,
talking.
don't worry
For some
about
reason,
it.
I think that like when I have the headphones on, it has a magical ability to like whatever. It's I'm learning. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
See ya.
Alexandra.
So
Please
yeah,
follow
always
us.
fun.
and I'll upload my
Alexandra.
finished painting. What's up?
I
Yeah,
look forward
I'd
to
love
that.
see
Our
it.
girl.
Okay, thank you. All
Take
right,
care.
Bye.
Later.
Be well.
Bye.
Bye.
So
Bye.
let's take a look at this. Wow, that is
Yeah,
quite
Geo's
beautiful. Look at that.
Geo always does great stuff.
I can't wait to print it and see like how it turns out. But like I'm sure I'm gonna have to fiddle around with the details, but it's more or less done. So yeah,
Wow,
now I'm
This
just
is
gonna get the
gorgeous.
old vacuum cleaner
beautiful
here.
job, man.
I can't.
And you know what?
wait.
I gotta
And think
eat.
that all the white is going to be like stark black. So think about
Wow.
it that way. So
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wait, did you show off the original photo, the one that you
I sent
me
it
on
to you.
Twitter?
My phone died, but I sent it to you in.
Yes, I see the photo. I
DMs.
see it. So let me post it over here so you guys can take a look. 1 second.
an idea
By the way,
of it.
this is over here Tim and Eric with the nipples. See that?
Oh god, the nipple one. I remember that one.
Yeah, the man milk, where they were producing man milk, and then they
Dude, I have
poisoned
to
all.
say, I hated this show. Every time that anybody put this shit on, I was just like, get me out. Get me out. Help me.
I'm the opposite.
Help
I
me.
sometimes watch it before I go to sleep. I don't know what's wrong with me.
My two best friends in real life were.
Lev, you know what? I need to watch it with you.
Yes,
I need to
you
watch
do.
it with you so that I can understand.
Yes,
Him and
there's a
Eric.
whole esoteric discipline here. By the way, this is the this is
Initiate
the
me,
photo.
Lev, please.
Yes,
Awaken
this is
my
the photo
kundalini.
over here. So the one that Geo is doing the wood block print. This is the photo. Wow, this
Oh.
is.
Yeah.
Oh man, they remind me kind of penguins. I don't know. There's like the.
Yeah,
hunched
they
over-
do kind
That's
of.
horrifying.
Yeah,
March
it's
of the-
terrible what people are like really consenting to now. Like
They're
it's
subjecting
just-
themselves to.
Yeah, and so I figure like it's got that like since we're like entering Weimar territory, it's got that like Weimar Germany like woodblock print Kathy Kollwitz type of vibe to it. So she's like a
Like-
huge influence on me. So that's why I felt like this piece in particular was apt
This
because
is right. Yeah, I
yeah.
got you.
That is very beautiful, man. And yeah, I'm gonna figure out the whole things with. Look, I like. I really appreciate the fact that Made a Nomad came in today. He's a very, very smart guy. But I'm
But
gonna
he
figure
insulted
out fucking.
you.
I'm gonna figure out. I'm gonna
No,
figure
no, I
out.
didn't.
I'm gonna figure out reality when it comes to what exactly is going on with that head thing. That's with the visions and all that. I don't know what it is. I mean, the whole idea is like,
No,
what's
but
the
Lev,
goal
I think
here?
it was good.
Yeah.
Like it was, like I think that was.
I agree.
It was good because Made a Nomad. Like, I think it's good when people come on the show and don't give a fuck and like are.
Pushback is very
because
important.
like it's very important and I feel like he's learned enough to well I can't wait. I mean I've read a lot of his blog and now that I know it's just like his blog, I know what to get into. But nevertheless, I bought my physical copy and I can't wait for it to come in the mail.
I look forward to that too. I got.
Yeah,
well, I
maybe
got
that's the
Kindle
way.
edition.
Maybe that's the way to write a book. Just start writing blog posts and then put them all together in a book.
Yes.
Oh, most people do that now.
And what about Twitter posts? Like, can you
Oh,
segment
yeah,
it?
William Guppy. Haha, delightful.
Wasn't
E.
he?
$1 from E. We got a $1 from E. Let me read that right now. Here we go. Okay, so the overall shape of Geo's artwork looks like a giant's foot stepping into a third dimension. Legit man.
That's true.
Oh, and here he says David Liebe Hart was the greatest actor in the Tim and Eric awesome show. Great job. I like David Liebe Hart. I mean, I like all of them. I like all the old men that they have. Like the one.
The one I really
aesthetic-
liked was the John C. Reilly character, Professor
Steve Brule.
Steve Brule, yeah.
Steve Brule, yeah.
Steve Brule, there's a reason that they made him into his own show. See, I found Steve Brule funny. I didn't know that was a Tim and Eric sketch.
Oh, he's got his
Yeah.
own show?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
yeah.
made a Steve Brule show.
Check
didn't
it
know that
out
was
with
Tim and
Steve
Eric.
Brule.
Yeah, they do
Yeah.
a lot of
Where he would
fun
just
stuff.
go around and do incredibly stupid shit.
I'm curious to
Pretty
see
good.
what those guys get up to next. Like they
Well, they do
Besides
on
canceling
cinema.
their rivals, besides
Yeah,
that.
Yeah,
Well,
I do.
yeah.
I
Okay,
do. You know
besides
what,
that-
I'm excited to see what Sam Hyde does next. That's what I'm excited.
Yeah, Sam
Well, I
Hyde
could tell you-
also, the Hyde Wars. Like he's doing
Yes.
stuff. Like he's
Well, I
got
can tell you what Tim's doing right now. So Tim has been doing this thing with Greg Turkington called on cinema at the cinema. They've been doing it for years.
It's like a weird movie review thing. I saw some of that.
It's like a whole universe. Like you really have to get in it and get into the lore, and there is so much lore.
Yeah, there was
behind
something
it.
with
It's
a court case or where he was a pedophile
that was
or
great.
something. Like
No. It was a court case because he ended up killing off all these teens and young people who went to his electric music festival by giving them faulty vape pens, like poison vape pens. So they all died.
Wait,
so
this is a
he had
skit?
A court case. Yeah, it's a skit.
Oh, too bad
Unfortunately,
it
it's a
wasn't real
skit.
life. I'm sorry.
I know. Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Yes, but anyway, the on cinema universe is very interesting. But yeah, I think it is very important to have people go in here and push back on my bullshit. I think it is something that I need. But the
yeah,
one thing
Lev,
that
quit
I'm
the
not sure-
bullshit.
Yes, but the one thing that I don't know is whether he understood what I was getting at. Because that's the thing. Because he was always comparing like the LSD stuff, and what I'm trying to get here is that if I'm able to see all this weird shit like being created and kind of like follow the process of how it gets created, maybe I can like create reality in that way. Maybe I can like start to get into the astral realm and create shit within the astral realm and figure out a way how
you're
that
talking
combines into
lucid
our
dream.
reality. Yeah, but I'm talking about not just lucid dreaming. I'm talking about being able to figure out what all this shit is. You know, because yes, we could say like we are all made of, you know, protons, neutrons, electrons working together, and it's like all vibration, man.
I think
but
that's all fake,
But
in my opinion.
I think that's all
yeah, science is fake.
No, I think
Straight up,
that's
I'm
all
kidding,
real.
I'm
fake.
kidding.
But not
I
only
know.
that, I think that there is a way to go to that middle part, like the one where before something becomes solidified, when it is a thought form, to find out like how do these thought forms work. Because what I'm seeing is like thought forms being made manifest. One last thing I want to share with everybody before we go. This I saw 2 days ago when I took too much B6. Now, okay, this is my mistake. I reached out for a bottle that I thought was something else, and then I'm taking like more B6 than I would otherwise. So I couldn't properly go to sleep that night, but I had a hell of a it wasn't a lucid dream. It was like when you're half asleep and half awake. You know, when you have these dreams, like you close your eyes and you just like see all this realistic shit happening, and you're like, I'm not dreaming and I'm seeing this, but I am dreaming. You know what I mean? Like
That's
sleep
lucid dreaming.
paralysis and okay, I guess.
No,
that
that's
was
what lucid dreaming is. When
Okay.
to be lucid dreaming is when you are in a dream and you know you are dreaming.
Yes, exactly. And I was completely aware that I was aware that I was in this state of like high end meditation time. That's the best way I would describe it. And what I ended up seeing, this was like so bizarre. I ended up seeing, I'm going to try to draw what they look like, but I'm not going to do them any justice. I saw like these string butterflies, like something. It looked kind of like this. Like imagine these blue things. That's so crap. I'm gonna do it again. Okay, so it's like imagine that these strings that I'm drawing here are three-dimensional. They're like tubes. You know what I mean? Like they're three-dimensional tubes. You can see the structure of the tubes, and I just see these things flying from the center. So this is the center over here, and like out of the center, these weird butterfly-like things just start flying like this, like just start flying out of the tunnel. Three-dimensional butterfly, like kind of
like
like
the
moving.
world is a vampire set to change.
I've never seen that, but I don't
No,
know.
sorry, because you said butterfly, so I just thought of the Smashing Pumpkins song "Bullet with a Butterfly."
Oh, I gotta see that. But anyway, these things start flying out, and all of a sudden I say, you know what? I'm gonna like smash them into one hole. So I concentrated and like I did that, and it smashed. I tried to recite the Shiva mantra, and it didn't work because when I tried speaking in that stage, my voice was like, "Oh Namah Shivaya." You know what I mean? Like it was all fucked up. I couldn't. Remus, do you know what I'm talking about? I couldn't say it. It was just like all.
That was a beautiful rendition. Thank you.
You're welcome.
However,
It was like
Yeah.
no, I know what you're
Lava
saying. Because what you were doing was you were relying on your. Okay, this is the crazy part, right? So dreams, the reason, like, there's a lot of stuff in dreams that happens, and you're like, why is that the case, right? Like, you can't. A lot of the time, I'll wake up when I really will speaking, like when I really want to say something in a dream, I'll wake up as a result, and I'll wake up with the words coming out of my mouth type thing, right? Or you attempt to influence something in some way physically, and it just doesn't work because like you're trying to do something different. The problem with lucidity is that a lot of the time you break your dream state because you start doing it physically. Like you're going into the assumption that what you're doing is influencing a physical body, and that's how you're moving around. That's how you're doing things. You're actually literally walking. You're not doing any of that. That's not real. It's all mental construction. So you can do anything, right? You can go anywhere instantaneously. You can fly. You can do all of that stuff because there aren't actual physical limitations. So you probably tried to actually speak, and that's why it came out weird, right? Instead of like, I imagine the proper way to do that would be to recite it internally in your mind, or.
Yeah, I agree. Well, when I woke up, I said, shit, I should have done the Kali mantra instead. But then I was like,
Kali Ma.
I started reciting the Kali Ma in my head. But anyway,
Dr. Jones, your heart.
Well, speaking of your heart, that's actually a good point. At that point, the reason why I was so scared is I knew that this was kind of brought on artificially from too much B6, more than I should otherwise have taken. It was, again, like by mistake. I woke up. But anyway, when I took the B6, I got into this mode where I thought, shit, like I don't want to have a heart attack. I don't want something weird to happen. And I probably wouldn't have at all, but back then in the dream sequence, I thought that, I'm not going to risk it. And when I saw like an overly bright light, like it was just like right after that shit, I just saw like such a bright light from the center. And I didn't want to go in because like shit, like I didn't earn this at this point. I took this B6 stuff. That's probably going to do something to me. I'm not going to risk it right now. So that kind of brought me out of the dream.
Was the light white or golden?
It was white. It was like
white
light. And so there was
like
blue, there was blue around, and there was like white in the center. That's what I remember.
Well, I'm glad that you didn't go in then.
Really? Okay. Tell me why.
Okay. All right. Obviously these things are the kind of thing that each person has their own, in my opinion. Like I don't think that what is for me is for you, but I think there are universals, right? I think golden light is something.
Well, how would you define golden? Because like gold is like yellow, or
what when you see it. You know what I'm saying? It's not something that I would have to explain to you. You would just understand what I mean. It's the difference between sunlight and like a really strong fluorescent. You know what I'm saying? That's what the white light is. And to me, that's like it's false. It's false light. So it's in my mind emblematic of something. It's like a warning sign. If you have eyes to see, right? Like it's very shiny and it convinces you, wow, there's something of consequence in there. There's something important in there, but it's not necessarily true. The light that you think it is. It's not that true. It's not that golden light of divinity or whatever your mental state is thinking. You guys were talking about psychedelics earlier, right? And so many people have this like, oh man, I saw like this profound, whoa, dude, I saw God, all that shit. The problem with that is that you're probably not seeing that. You're probably seeing something else. Like this is probably like, there's so many ways for you to be deceived that. And most people are, and this is where I agree with Men and Nomad, right? It's like most of this stuff is not helpful for people because they don't even have a frame of reference for what they're looking at. They don't even know what's going on. They're just sort of being assaulted with imagery and feelings, and that, like, first of all, it colors what they're seeing and how they're interpreting it, and second, it maybe teaches them lessons that they're not even like they weren't supposed to be learned. Like they're learning the wrong thing from the same. You know what I'm saying? It's like jumping in the deep end when you don't even know what water is. Never mind how to swim.
Well, this is one of the reasons why I try to learn exactly what is going on here and pay attention to it. Where when I attended, and this is actually with Daniel Pinchbeck, by the way, there was this psychedelic seminar that I attended, and Daniel Pinchbeck was one of the people, and I asked the panel, including him, like, can we like break down exactly what is going on here with these thought forms that you guys are seeing? Like, what exactly are they made up? How would they be generated? How exactly does this work? Like, it's not like you'd be able to get not a telescope, the microscope. It's not like you can get a microscope in that world and like look into their skin, the skin of this godly thought form that you see around you. It's not like you can just microscope its skin and look at like, oh, here are like the veins, here are the skin flakes, here are the germs. No, this is like it's made of something else. So can we like break down what exactly is going on with the anatomy of all of these spectral forms? And nobody, like, they danced around the fucking question. Like, they couldn't really... And that's why I'm interested in when I do get this weird-ass geometric form that, hey, I can, like, turn it around, I can zoom in and zoom out of it. Like, I want to explore this. Like, where exactly can we go from here? What exactly can we find out with how all these structures work and how it relates to the dreamscape and astral realm and all that stuff?
Well, because I think they don't want to actually understand that stuff. They just kind of want to be like, "Whoa, like isn't this profound?" Right? And
that's
not,
what
like,
a lot of the discourse around psychedelics is, in my opinion. After having been interested in it for years, it's like, "Whoa, dude, it's amazing."
At least the magicians are trying to figure it out. The psychedelic people are false. They're false prophets. They're like, yo, look how all this profound shit. And you're like, yeah, what is it? They're like, we have no clue, and we are not even trying to figure it out, honestly. And
or
if you
it's
ask
some
too many
like
questions,
abstraction that they've curled from Eastern mysticism that's badly interpreted about the oneness of being.
They go to something else. They don't actually have their own idea about it. They just go ask some guru. You know
and when they say like, we are all one man and stuff like that, like, sure, but like, I'm kind of interested in more of the meat on these bones, you know what I mean? I'm interested in how a lot of this stuff actually works, because if this is something that isn't just a projection of our brain, and even if it is, that's still interesting, but if there's something more going on here, like, let's explore this, let's be a little bit more familiar with this, so we can actually know what, how we can go about being in a relationship with it. Like, my analogy would be, I think that when people settle in a certain territory, like a piece of land, even like when you buy a house, or to the extent of like groups of people moving into a new land, like people moving into America after the Native Americans were there and all that, it's like you have a relationship to that land. Like, there's a back and forth relationship going on there, where the land has an effect on you, it turns you into a different person, but in a way you could also transmute certain qualities in the land given enough time. And I think there may be and I think the mystical Judaism has a similar relationship when they talk about the nature of God and man, where they talk about it being like this relationship quality, like one affects the other. And I think this is also present in a lot of different mystical things. But anyway, the reason why I'm saying all this is I think that this is yet another relationship that people can start having, those who are interested to these things, without necessarily, without necessarily having this doomed view of the only thing that we know is the thing that these experts tell us, and that's it.
I think it also becomes, there's a.
Well, as an expert, let me tell you something, brother.
Brother.
But I think it also becomes like a bit of, they become their own, like man, like the man, like they are the man of their own sphere, you know what I mean? And the whole thing is to kind of like, there's like a weird undercurrent of a lot of hippie culture and a lot of that shit, psychedelics, and you know what I mean? It's a lot of like counter, anti-authoritarian, all of that kind of stuff.
It's got a very like liberal epistemology about the world that's really
for sure. It's all about attempting to reduce suffering, which is funny.
But it's a total like this is what Dharma King said. They don't even understand what real Buddhism is.
Dude, I fucking love Dharma Kirti, man. Dharma King, that Right Wing Dharma Squads is such a good podcast, man.
Is that still going?
I listened to Right Wing Dharma Squads before I listened to BTR. Let me just tell you.
Is it still on? Do they still?
They're putting out new stuff now, which is
cool.
Okay.
All of them, man.
Storm King disappeared. A lot of them were gone for a while.
Yeah.
But I think they were still kind of making stuff. But yeah, they were a really good podcast, man. I really enjoyed them. But yeah, no, exactly. It's like what they take. It becomes a strange world where like these people are, they're sort of projecting an idea of like, enlightened understanding from behind the psychedelic, wall, and also like they're like, man, you just gotta go to the sort of the traditional mystical stuff, man, but what they end up taking from it is just like a weird solipsism every time.
Yeah, it's like it is a solipsism at the end of the day.
Every time, it's just, you're all me. That's what, when you get down to it, that's what they're all gonna say, basically. Is you're all me in a way. And
You're
it's like,
all it's not like the ocean is in your drop. It's more of like what Rumi said. Well, he didn't actually say it. It was Coleman Barks, but
Rumi translation, red pill. For people who don't understand.
I love how like people were bitching at how that gets neocolonialism, but like a lot of people, I think even Dharma King himself, he was like, that's kind of based how you like took it and just like made it your own. Like it's
well, isn't that the argument for a lot of these oral traditions, that the reason why they don't want it written down is that it can change based on and again, I think it also goes to this idea of the relationship, where these oral traditions change over time based on the culture and the people around them, as long as there is something tangible that people can grasp at, though, which I'm not really going to say the psychedelic community, I think, has to that great of an extent. At least I'm not seeing it in them right now.
Because it's mostly about doing psychedelics. It's not about doing
that's what it is at the
enlightenment.
end of the day.
That's, understand what I'm saying? Like they're not monks. They're people who like to do psychedelics, but they're just pretending to be monks. That's the annoying part. They're doing a really good monk dance. They're wearing all the monk clothes and they're wearing the beads and they're doing the fucking. You know what I'm saying? Not to like call out.
I have a friend that does that, who works with John on University of Toronto. Or I don't know, he probably isn't my friend anymore because we haven't talked in a while. He's probably horrified with what I believe in now. But
don't say that.
He works for John. What's the psychiatrist?
Oh, Gio, what are you doing? Believing in things.
Vercon. He's got this. Oh God, he does like the psychedelic therapy thing, and he went to like.
Well, I don't think that's bad. Because I think that's actually a great application of that. I don't.
But
think
like you could see this like total like amalgamation of each tradition, like open-mindedness till your brain falls out, sort of thing.
Exactly.
So
there's nothing wrong with anything, and it's like.
So guys, I think we're gonna be ending the stream right now. I'm incredibly hungry. I have to go eat.
Yeah,
so
hungers.
I'm kind of
yes.
Up.
This is the end
When
of the stream,
you're carving
everybody.
after an hour, it's like my hands.
But let's do the final calls here. All the people who are here, all you have to promote. Now is the time. So here
I am
we are.
Masked Bastard on Twitter. I am Masked Bastard on Instagram. Masked Bastard on Minds. I'm on TikTok. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Twitch. I play Dungeons and Dragons every Friday and have a lot of fun doing that. I do break the rules and lev streams every once in a while. At least like once a week or so. Somebody else jump in. Gio, what do you got?
I'm coming out with a new video tomorrow, hopefully, if things go according to plan, which they never do with my YouTube. But it's about this meme chart that came out that I'm gonna like rip to pieces about the different eras of memes. I'm like, that one.
Now we gotta get meme analysis back on.
Yeah.
So
what'd you say, Remus? What'd you say?
Yeah.
I said those charts always flare up my autism.
Yeah, they're well, I say in the beginning it's inaccurate, but I do like cover the different like eras, or if you could even call it that, of memes.
Yeah, the little microcycles. They go through their own little
their own like Spenglerian cyclical.
Yeah, exactly. Their own little like winter, summer, fall. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they all have.
Hey guys,
one.
follow Anethel Calth Respector, aka Remus, on Twitter.
Yeah.
Here is a
Remus. You know the name.
Twitter
You know
account.
the name. Yeah.
Exactly.
Come for the discussion about random autistic topics, bro. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
also be sure to follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/leftpo if you had not done so already. I'm going to be upping my dream game. There's been a lot of, as you know, this hasn't been the easiest week, but there's been a lot of
Oh my
things
god, not by
that
a
I
long
got,
shot. It's been
that I got to
easier.
write down. And look, we're going to
By
have
the way,
Ed West.
I never
Yeah.
thought that Break the Rules. I thought we would make it to 4chan in better circumstances. But, oh my
That's
God.
funny. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that post. Very
Yeah.
hilarious.
So,
The way we're
So-
famous.
We're
Yeah,
famous
so-
now.
so let's see what else here.
I mean,
okay.
for the wrong. I mean, hey, good. Any fame is good fame, I guess. No,
Okay,
that's
so-
bullshit.
no.
That's
Yeah,
Okay,
there is such a thing as X-Pac heat. You don't want
Yeah,
X-Pac heat.
there's go home heat. There's Montreal Screwjob heat. There's,
Yep.
Okay, so over here, next I want to promote the Twitch and the DLive. So we are simultaneously streaming on Twitch and on DLive, so everybody knows. Okay, here we go. So this is the link right over here. 1 second, everybody. Here we go. Oh, no, that's my super rare. I don't know why I posted that, but anyway, here we go. Go to superrare.co. You'll see my artwork over here. You remember this one, Pyramider. Get Pyramider. Get my fucking NFTs. I can't stress this
God,
enough.
that's an old photo.
Yes, anyway, over here. Oh, what, this one? Oh, yeah, look at that. It's me with my long hair, back when I had the Jesus hair.
Long
Yeah,
hair Lev.
Exactly.
When
So
he had
we're-
real.
yeah,
long,
what, you're
real
saying I don't
hair.
have real
Yeah,
anymore?
yeah.
You have less. You have less. You have less hair.
Oh,
That's
whatever.
the
I'm
rule.
gonna, I'm gonna figure out. I'm gonna buy a
Super
toupee,
Saiyan. You know how
a
it
real
works.
toupee. Anyway,
Really
twitch.tv. Yes, twitch.tv/leftpolyakov, dlive.tv/leftpolyakov. Follow me there. Look, I only have 7 followers on DLive. That's ridiculous. That is so little. So guys, follow me on DLive right now. I know I haven't really been promoting it that much.
So that's
Let's
all
see.
the people on D-Live.
Yes. Is it even working right now? Oh yeah, it is working. But it's under a different name because I got lazy when I was doing the restream stuff. I should have changed the names. But anyway, on YouTube, YouTube is the most important one. Follow me on YouTube right now. The Left Stream, support me, streamlabs.com/leftpolyakov. As always, I am signing off right now. Thank you guys so much for watching this. I appreciate the ever-loving heaven out of you. And one last thing I wanted to share with everybody before we go. This right here, this is Koi. This is the son of Tim and Eric, who was hiding under the Christmas tree when they were looking at each other's nipples and extracting the milk, the man milk from the nipples.
Oh,
So
boy.
This is Koi. This is Koi. This
Koi.
is what he looks like. Koi. As he said, Koi. Come out from the Christmas tree,
Wow.
Koi. So anyway.
They got the best actors.
Oh, they definitely did.
Their
Okay.
audition process, man.
I'm gonna end the stream right now, but actually you guys don't go away because I want to show you something real quick. I actually want to show you the man milk thing, but I can't do it here because it's on YouTube. But anyway, I'm gonna stop streaming right now. Let me just find the fucking thing to end this. Here we go. Dashboard. No, not dashboard.
End,
I have to
end,
go
end.
Live.
History
Live.
eraser button.
Almost here.
Follow me on Twitter.
Follow-
That was me
follow-
last week
There
on
we
BTR.
go. And
And
all right,
and
live.
please,
Live.
and-